fairy tale. You can take the future, even if you fail. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels. When I know the time is right for me, I'll cross the street. I have a dream. I have a dream, a fantasy to help me through reality. And my destination makes it worthwhile, pushing through the darkness till another light. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels. When I know the time is right for me, I'll cross the street. I have a dream. I'll cross the street. I have a dream.
India's new education policy and Nipun Bharat mission have given the highest importance to foundational literacy and numeracy. The classic problem in education has been speed, the speed of learning. Even after 3 years of schooling, most children do not know how to read, write, or do basic numeracy. Without these skills, children lag behind and eventually lose interest. But there is a new disruptive research-based pedagogy that is making a huge difference. ALfA, or Accelerating Learning for All. ALfA has shown it is possible to make children learn foundational skills within months and not years. Oral reading fluency follows from the ability to read in the first place. ALfA pedagogy has been incorporated in the Global Dream Toolkits, an online learning app called Literacy Now. Lessons are broken down into half-page modules. Children work in pairs. The children take turns to ask questions from each other and answer them. The teacher does not teach. Instead, the teacher reads out the prompts which tell the children what their task is.
तो कविता हमने पढ़ाई थी ना, उसी में के क्वेश्चन है इसमें, ठीक? दो लोग बैठे हो, एक जना क्वेश्चन पढ़ेगा और दूसरा उसका क्या देगा? आंसर.
The results from this process-led transformation is that learning explodes. It is also a joyful learning process. Global Dream Toolkits are now available in 15 Indian languages. They can easily be replicated in other languages. ALfA has begun to be implemented in many states and districts of India. We are now working in 2 of the 10 low-performing districts of India as identified by the Ministry of Education. These are Shamli in Uttar Pradesh and Sambalpur in Orissa. The goal is to bring the results in these 2 districts up before the next National Achievement Survey in March 2023. We are taking the challenge up. We have also begun work in Jharkhand and Mizoram, among others. Our target is making the ALfA pedagogy the modus of teaching in the future so that it becomes an integral and systemic part of education by which every child learns.
And we use the method, the 3S of teaching. It is Saval, Samay and Sambandh. Saval means we ask the learner questions so that they can pick up the things at their own pace. The second is Samay, we give them plenty of time. And the third is Sambandh, we keep a friendly relationship with the children.
Then we follow the FLN, that is foundational literacy and numeracy. In this, we follow the reverse method of teaching.
Ma'am, we are adopting LSRW. This stands for listening, speaking, reading, and then writing. We make sure that writing is the last part.
बहुत अच्छा अनुभव रहा ग्लोबल टीम के साथ.
It's a very nice project that is initiated by Smita Gandhi ji.
I am very pleased to say Global Dream Campaign to spread literacy.
शिक्षा जो है ये मनुष्य के लिए वरदान है.
Learners of the school can go to them and can teach them or can make them educated.
Delhi, despite COVID-19, the number of peeps China Ravidas Jayanti turns into political. 20 years old, need new digital law. Chandrasekhar.
हमें लगता है कि भारत और पूरा विश्व जो है वो लिटरेट हो सकता है, बहुत ही जल्दी हो सकता है. यूनिसेफ ने एस्टिमेट किया है कि बिफोर द कोविड 52% बच्चे पूरे वर्ल्ड में पढ़ नहीं पाते थे. 70 साल की प्रॉब्लम है, आज की प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. और कोविड के बाद सिचुएशन बहुत गुना खराब हो गई. नन्हे मुन्ने बच्चे आपके सामने जो खड़े हैं, तो ये कैसे संभव है? 5 साल के बच्चे, 6 साल के बच्चे, 7 साल के बच्चे बात नहीं पढ़ पाते हैं, वर्ड्स पढ़ रहे होते हैं.
I am going to read the Hindu newspaper.
और आज के डेट में सिचुएशन इतनी खराब है कि बच्चे क्लास 4 या 5 में बैठे हैं, वो नहीं पढ़ पा रहे हैं. बच्चे यूकेजी के बच्चे हैं. और आज ये आपको पढ़ते दिखा रहे, जो अखबार ये हाथ में पकड़े हैं, ये लखनऊ के पेपर्स नहीं है, ये आपके दिल्ली के पेपर्स हैं.
I year seal it for India. Interest rates are unlikely to go any lower. Signals RBI, Mumbai. South Asia first PSL3 mobile lab set up in Maha. Terrimer mystery. Experts do not rule out the possibility of experimenter, underground.
खुद आके इनसे कहेंगे मुझे ये पढ़ के सुनाइए, तो वो पढ़ के इन्हें सुना देंगे। ये बच्चे आपके सामने क्लास 2 से नीचे के बच्चे हैं और भूले नहीं बल्कि बहुत सारी चीजें उन्होंने सीख ली। मात्र 3 महीने के उन्होंने पढ़ना, दोनों भाषाओं पढ़ना और गणित एक क्लास आगे, ये पूरा उन्होंने 30 आवर्स में कर लिया।
Students from all over India are and Madam Vinod Delhi fair village annual Delhi called Delhi world most polluted capital ranked fourth among cities. दिल्ली में 10 साल बाद फिर एक ही नगर निगम होगा।
Results were on reading, the performance of our schools was not so great. After 5 years of schooling, it is estimated by UNICEF and others that 53% of the children
India is a great nation, making strides in social and economic progress. Yet there is one huge problem holding us back. India has the largest population of illiterates in the world. This impacts the lives of millions.
नहीं पढ़े हैं तो जिंदगी बहुत कठिन है, पढ़े होते तो जिंदगी बहुत आसान होती।
But we know this problem is solvable if we work together. Just as we are reaching toilets to every home,
Jai Jagat, and warm greetings to one and all. Education is a worldwide emergency, and urgent action is required today, not tomorrow. Therefore, today we join hands with all to work together towards ensuring foundational literacy and numeracy for children, and to do it in months, not years or decades, by introducing disruptive methods which have been used to learn quickly. There is no education without foundational skills. So let us step up the act of making everyone literate together. And in doing so, let's make FLN universal. Let us feel free to communicate and interact with each other, pondering over disruptive FLN, foundational literacy and numeracy, along with greening of education. With this thought in mind, I would like to welcome all our esteemed guests, our management, our international, national, and local participants to the massive open online training being held to enhance teachers' motivation and practical skills to accelerate FLN. We accord a very warm welcome to the founder, Devi Sansthan, a former economist, the World Bank, USA, PhD from Cambridge University, UK, Chief Advisor, Academic City Montessori School, Lucknow, the world's largest school. The lady herself, who gave a deep thought to education for all and introduced us to this beautiful program. Let us hear Dr. Sunita Gandhi.
Have that resource. It all begins with the first step. As Adlai Stevenson and Chinese proverb says, journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. For the children also, the journey of their education and their life begins with their very first step, which is foundational literacy and numeracy. If they cannot read, they're disadvantaged the rest of their lives. It is such a huge problem that a child who could possibly read in a few days or learn to read in a few days is not learning to read in 5 years of schooling. And I think we can change that. So there is a problem with schooling, because many places we see that children are coming to school. In worldwide, many countries have 98% and above rates of enrollment. So enrollment is not any longer a problem. Even girls are going to school. And yesterday was International Day of Women. And I think we need to acknowledge that all girls must be in school. Why do parents give preference to boys? Because we have utter poverty. And poverty dictates those terms. I think every parent this day at least wants that both their children educate and not just the boys. Because girls are holding aloft their families and their interests so strongly. Adolescent girls, they drop out of school because they don't have requisite skills. And there are other, of course, socioeconomic factors. But nevertheless, I think girls, their education has to take prominence, and we need to make sure that they are enrolled, which of course they are at this point in time. The enrollment of girls in many countries has shot up tremendously over the last decade and a half. So I think the challenge goes there to the school, that they're in school, but they're not learning. So what is the problem? Why are they not learning? And this is where I'd like to say that maybe we need to be circumspect about the pedagogy that we're using. And that might be the missing ingredient. That might be where we need to refocus our energies. We can't teach the old way anymore. This is not bringing out the best in every child. The old dynamics of competing with each other, competition right at the core, marks culture. It is not bringing out the best in everyone. Very early on, the children get the sense, I'm not good enough. And this is not good enough. We need to have every child feel, I'm special, I'm great, I can do anything, I'm one in a million, marvelous, awesome, and lovely, and I can accomplish anything. And this is the spirit we need to fill, and not relative comparisons that have held back human potential for centuries. This is old age ethic, and is still 22 years after we are in the 21st century, we are holding ourselves hostage to the old and the uninteresting ways of teaching our children. Children are bored, teachers are bored, there's a lot of stress for teachers, there's a lot of stress for children. And I think you all agree with that. Now the question is, what is the solution? And this is where we are holding this training program, because we have discovered a solution. And what is that solution that we have discovered? The solution is basically ALfA, which we call accelerating learning for all. So we are presenting to you how to do things differently in your classroom, so that with the ALfA methods you can get far better results in FLN attempts that you're making, working ever so hard to make sure your children are doing well on FLN. FLN is the world's #1 priority in education. It is also the priority of SDG 4. And in India, we also see that this is #1 priority of education in India. The new education policy of India has made it very clear that all the state governments are to come up with plans for immediate action and for immediate remediation of this problem, filling the gap that exists between the pre-COVID and COVID situation, that's 10 to 15% gap maybe. And then in addition to that, to bring universal foundational literacy to everyone. And I think we need to focus on speed, because it cannot take 3 years anymore. What we are proposing and we are sharing with you is that our work in 2 different districts of India, Shamli in Uttar Pradesh and Sambalpur in Odisha, these are 2 low-performing districts of India that were handed to us by the former Secretary of Education, Anita Karwal, in 2022. And we began working there end of June, August, and November, in that time frame. And we managed to see tremendous outcome. You will see evidence of that work today a little bit. And also, you will see a lot of it on the 14th and 15th, when we are going to redo the MOOT, Massive Open Online Training, on 14th and 15th of this March. We're offering MOOT. We're offering it on a rolling basis to governments in different languages of India and, of course, different languages of the world. And how we're offering that is, firstly, our curriculum, the ALfA curriculum, is available in 31 languages, of which 15 are Indian languages, another 15 plus international languages. These are absolutely essential to get the word out there, that people can train with us in the Massive Open Online Training. They can be trained as trainers in their own languages. There's to be some connection between us and them, in English perhaps in the beginning, but those trainers will then take and replicate the MOOT experience. We'll give them the wherewithal, we'll give them all the extra training that's necessary, so they can go and make MOOT possible in their own countries, in their own regional languages and contexts. So the proposition is very simple, that there are new and more different ways in which you can engage the children. So let's press on before I tell you what they are, and let's go with very open mind that this is possible to reach foundational literacy and numeracy to the children in just 45 days. And that is with 2 periods a day. If you give 1 period a day, it's 90 days. We're saying that's hardly any blip in the whole year's academic offering. So we're talking about 5% to 10% of a year's academic time, and that's all. And that leverages the rest of learning. The experimental work we have done here in the laboratories of schools in Lucknow, we'll be sharing the experiences of some budget private schools and private schools. The reason to share that today from those classrooms is because the classroom experience is in English. But on the 14th and 15th, we'll be sharing with you a lot more experiences from the field, where the experience is in Hindi and in the context of villages and slums, where our work is going at a great speed. We have grown last year from 20 schools in Sambalpur in Odisha and Shamli in Uttar Pradesh, 2 low-performing districts. We have grown from there to 15 districts of India, 15 districts of Uttar Pradesh, which is a massive improvement from 1 district to 15 districts in a matter of 5 months. We've also been able to get agreements to work in Maldives, where UNICEF is supporting a pilot, and for nationwide implementation for 2 years. So I think we are also keen that other countries take it up. We are engaging right now several governments in Africa and in Asia. I hope it will be many more countries, but we have only just begun, and we need you as our ambassadors. We need you as our champions. Once you understand and agree and you try it out in your classes, we hope you'll become trainers. and we hope you'll carry the mission forward. This is all for free. It's complimentary. If you take the quiz, then you're able to get access to our materials, and also, of course, we'll offer you a certificate, and then form far more training, and you'll be able to become our trainers as well if you wish. So over to Tom. Tom Delaney is our trainer for MOOT, and Tom is from Australia. He's our youth volunteer as well as you can say master trainer, because he has exemplified the spirit of ALfA, and he has trained so many people in ALfA, not just for India. He taught the Maldives 1,500 teachers and principals and MOE staff of the Maldives. He has trained many people across the world, like in Peru, in Lebanon. We are working with Borderless NGO that is working with Syrian refugees. So the scope is limitless, and the potential is enormous. The opportunity is awaiting. There is a gap out there that needs to be filled. We need to just go on and try out something new and different. If we say it works, then give it a try. You know, it's only 1 period a day or 2 periods a day, and that's only for 45 days. And I hope that the world will embrace it with your help. Thank you so much indeed. And over to Tom Delaney, our master trainer and youth volunteer from Australia. He speaks perfect Hindi and perfect Urdu.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sunita, for that really rousing speech. I think I felt quite moved during that. Just to briefly introduce myself, I'm originally from Australia, but I've been living in India and working here for many years with Dr. Sunita and her wonderful team. And my main experience is working in the slums, in the urban poor communities of Lucknow and also Delhi, where Sunita's materials, this Accelerating Learning for All program, which we are so excited to be sharing with you today. I've seen the power of this on the ground. I've seen kids who are in school, they're struggling for 4 or 5 years in school, and they're not even able to recognize some letters. I've seen those kids using this program in 2 or 3 months, learn to read newspapers, learn to read storybooks, and I've seen the difference that that makes in their life, in the lives of their families. So that's the program that we are so excited to be sharing with you today. I just want to start off by handing back to Samvida ma'am for, we're just going to have a lighting of the lamp. This is a custom here in India that we start a ceremony by lighting a lamp. So we're lighting the lamp of education, and then we'll go on to the rest of the program.
Thank you, Sunita ma'am and Tom, for bringing to light the essence of FLM. Our behavior is fueled by 3 main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. Knowledge is the treasure of a wise man. It is power. All our activities should be governed by the light of knowledge. Let us light the lamp of learning to spread its radiance far and wide, followed by a speech from the Honorable Defense Minister of India, Shri Rajnath Singh Ji.
May this light spread far all over the world for peace and harmony. May the Lord keep this light always burning forever and ever. May this light spread far all over the world for peace and harmony.
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। जब मुझे पता चला कि सुश्री गांधी शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में ऐसे प्रयास कर रही हैं, तो मुझे व्यक्तिगत रूप से बेहद खुशी हुई। देवी संस्थान परिवार के सभी सदस्यों, परिवार की मुखिया सुश्री सुनीता गांधी जी को अपनी हार्दिक बधाई और शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। a paradigm shift in FLN, how to make India foundationally literate and numerate in months, not years. निश्चित ही आज के समय में बड़ा रिलेवेंट है। फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी एक क्यू ह्यूमन राइट है। यह इंडिविजुअल से लेकर सोशल, नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल लेवल तक सोशियो इकोनॉमिक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के सबसे महत्वपूर्ण एलिमेंट में से एक है। हमें ऐसे प्रयासों की जरूरत है जो फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी को न केवल प्री पैंडेमिक की स्थिति में बल्कि उससे कहीं ऊपर हमें पहुंचा सके। इस दिशा में मैं सुनीता गांधी जी को उनके कंसेप्ट और प्रोग्राम एक्सेलरेटिंग लर्निंग फॉर ऑल अथवा ALfA के लिए बधाई देना चाहूंगा, जो आप देश के विभिन्न हिस्सों में संचालित कर रही हैं। साथियों, इस प्रोग्राम के माध्यम से लोगों को 90 डेज में लिटरेट बनाया जा सकता है। मैं आशा करता हूं कि आने वाले समय में बड़ी संख्या में लोग इससे जुड़ेंगे और इसे सपोर्ट करने के लिए आगे आएंगे। यहां मैं एक और बात को रेखांकित करना चाहूंगा कि अगर पैंडेमिक ने हमारी अब तक चली आ रही शिक्षा व्यवस्था को डिसरप्ट करने का कार्य किया है, तो उससे उबरने के लिए भी हमको डिसरप्टिव टेक्नोलॉजीज का प्रयोग कर डिसरप्टिव लर्निंग और लिटरेसी की ओर आगे बढ़ना होगा। यह हमें ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। ऐसे में डिसरप्टिव लर्निंग की ओर ध्यान देना और उसे बढ़ावा देना आज की पूरी जरूरत है। यहां मैं सुश्री सुनीता गांधी की एक पुस्तक डिसरप्टिव लिटरेसी, ए रोड मैप फॉर अर्जेंट ग्लोबल एक्शन के लॉन्च के लिए भी उनको बधाई देता हूं।
For sharing your valuable ideas towards building literacy and numeracy to bridge misery to hope and blessings for the initiative. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. Our prayers do make a difference. So let us make this difference and uplift the consciousness of the world by means of prayer. Please close your eyes and join your hands into the invisible and feel the blessings of God reaching back.
I testify at this moment to my powerlessness and to thy might, to my poverty and to thy will. There is none other God but thee, thy help in peril, the self-existing.
Music, once admitted to the soul, becomes a spirit and never dies. Hope is the strength by which a shattered world shall emerge into the light. This song brings out the beauty of light in darkness, the beauty of hope, the beauty of believing through music. Now we have the choir of the Cambridge section with the song, When You Believe.
Many nights we've prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeless song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, can't explain. Seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is rare, it's hard to get. Who knows what miracles?
Wow, well, that was really touching. Lovely, lovely voices, lovely lyrics to that song. So fantastic, very warm welcome to you all once again. It's terrific to be here with you. And we're really excited today to be discussing with you about Accelerating Learning for All, this groundbreaking program. The morning session, some of you were also there. We were talking about literacy. Now this afternoon session, we're mainly discussing numeracy, right? How this ALfA approach works for mathematics. So once again, very warm welcome to you. I've heard that we are coming in from around 40 countries around the world and many, many different states of India as well. So it's fantastic to have you all with us. So yes, let's go to the PowerPoint, please. And I just want to say welcome once again to this massive open online training. And these are the questions which started Dr. Sunita out in her journey towards this revolutionary program of Accelerating Learning for All. So this impossible question, is it possible for a 5-year-old to read a newspaper? Is it possible for kids to learn how to read without a teacher teaching them, instead working in pairs? Is it possible to learn to read in months, not years? So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Maybe you can post in the live chat. It's going to be a very interactive session. We're going to have a lot of chance to interact via those live comments. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts at the outset. Do you think this is possible? Because I felt that it was impossible, right? I felt that surely this is too hard. But hopefully we'll convince you today in the footage from classrooms we'll be showing you, and in our discussion, hopefully we'll be convincing you that this is actually possible and it can happen in your classroom as well. And how it is possible? Well, it requires a paradigm shift, right? The phone here, you can see the landline phone. My grandparents back in Australia, they still use this, right? They still have the landline phone with them. But most of us have moved well beyond the landline, and now we are using smartphones. So if communication technology, if transport technology, if medical technology, if all of these things change so swiftly that in 50 years, the world is barely recognizable, right? It's changed so much over my grandparents' lifetimes. Well, where is that change in education? That's the key question. Unfortunately, when we look at photos of classrooms today, compare that to classrooms 100 years ago, it looks pretty similar. Sure, maybe the photos were black and white then and they're color now, but it's still the same basic structure of the classroom. There's the teacher, there's rows of kids facing the front, there's kids copying from the board. It's still very, very similar. So that's what we're looking for, is a paradigm shift in education. Where can we see that transition from a landline phone to a smartphone? And crucially, the ALfA program, that's its benefit, right? It is that paradigm shift in education. It's a paradigm shift. So how and what's it all about? That's what today's session is here for. Just a couple of things I want to mention briefly about ALfA. Firstly is that it's zero cost and zero carbon. So we're hoping that you'll stay with us to the end of this 3.5-hour session. We'll be doing a fun quiz at the end, and we'll also be providing you with e-learning materials for whatever language you want, for numeracy, whichever country you're in, we'll be providing you with these zero-cost e-learning materials. Because it's e-learning materials, it's also zero carbon, right? So it's very environmentally friendly. These methods are 10 times faster than the old traditional rote learning approach to education. Kids who otherwise would take 5 years to learn to read, they can learn to read in a matter of months. So it's much, much faster, which is the need of the hour. And crucially, it embeds the 6 C skills in the process. So these 6 C skills of character, citizenship, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and communication. These are skills which cannot be taught from a textbook. They cannot be taught by a lecture, right? They can only be learned through the process of peer interaction, peer learning. And that's how our children develop these skills. So we'll be looking at that very closely. Firstly, though, I want to just present a brief snapshot of what we'll be discussing today. So we'll be talking a bit about the FLN crisis, the crisis in foundational literacy and numeracy, how so many children around the world today are not able to read, write, and do basic arithmetic. why this crisis is here and what we can do about it. We'll be unpacking the ALfA process. We'll be comparing and contrasting ALfA with the traditional classroom. We'll be looking especially at the power of paired learning. You can see the photo here. Kids are sitting in pairs. They're working with each other. How and why this works so well is really the heart of ALfA. We'll be doing some numeracy activities with ALfA, and we'll also be looking through the learning materials. And like I mentioned, there'll be a quiz at the end with a chance for you to provide feedback and plenty of chance for Q&A as well. So firstly, let's get started the interaction in the chat box. It's fantastic to see many of you are already being active in the chat box. So let me ask you this question. Please post your name, which country you're from, or if you're in India, which state you're from, and your favorite book or movie. So it's a way to get to know each other a little bit, right? It's an experimental process for us, this online training using YouTube. We're doing it for the first time today. But I hope it can still be very interactive via the chat box. So please post your responses in the chat. We'll be highlighting some of them on screen as well as we go. Your name, which country you're from, and what's your favorite book or movie. So I'm going to turn also to my co-panelists here and ask them the same question. Now, guys, you can't cheat. You can't go back to what you said in the morning. You've got to come up with something fresh, okay, for the afternoon session. So Samvida, ma'am, I'll turn to you first.
Okay.
If you can introduce yourself, please, with where you're from as well, and your favorite book or movie.
My name is Samvida Adhikari. I'm the principal CMS Aliganj Campus 2. And this ALfA project has been taken up at my campus. And the videos which you would be seeing from my campus, they are approximately the work done during 45 days you would be showcasing. Now, in the previous session, I said my favorite movie is My Fair Lady. I'm going to be very honest about it. Now, one of the Hindi movies which is favorite is Three Idiots, because it's a clear, straight message that we should not learn after the marks, actually. And this is what ALfA is all about. So in a nutshell, we can say ALfA and Three Idiots connect very well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here we are, the three idiots, sitting here together again. We'd have to be idiots not to spend such a lovely day sitting here in an online meeting, but I hope it's going to be a very exciting and interesting online meeting. So thanks, Samvida ma'am. And please do post in the comments where we want to hear what your favorite book and movie is, and also especially which country you're from or which state you're from if you're in India. Let's get to know each other a little bit. So let me turn to Sunita ma'am. What about you? What's your favorite book or movie?
So we are the three idiots, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about books.
Okay.
Because I talked about it last time. My three favorite people are, at this point in time, they changed. But most all of them are constant, most always.
Okay.
And first one is my mother.
Okay.
And she's an amazing person.
Okay.
She's the one who started what is today, or has been since 1999, the world's largest school, City Montessori School, Lucknow. And she is an eternal pedagogue. She is someone who instantly knows what's good for the child. And I think all my lessons I've learned from her. So I want to, show my gratitude to her. Then there's my father. I won't say there's a hierarchy here, but we're both feminists. So I think mother comes first. And then my father. My father is absolutely an amazing individual. He believes in possibilities. He's a man of no procrastination. He's a man in a hurry, and there's so much to do in the world. Both of them are 89 and 90 years of age this day, and so they're my favorite people. And increasingly favorite is my sister Geeta Kington. So and they're the hosts. They have really encouraged me to do what I'm doing today. And Professor Geeta Kington is a professor, but she's also the president and CEO of City Montessori School. So I'm very, very grateful to them for inspiring me to do what I do today. Thank you so much.
So lovely. Wow, I'm just having a look at the comments, and that's beautiful. Lots of interesting movies coming in. So Tetia is from Mizoram, India. Favorite movie? God Must Be Crazy. Okay, I think I've seen that, and yes, it's a classic. Nazia Abbas shares with Samvida ma'am, Three Idiots, movie Three Idiots. Another one is I saw Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah, that's also a real classic. Tare Zameen Par, of course. Lovely, very heartwarming movie. Someone from Bengaluru, also Three Idiots. I see that someone's from Belgium. Lord, welcome, Lord. And your favorite movie is Shrek. Okay, fantastic. Also very heartwarming. So fantastic. Yes, one of my favorite books. Somebody said Harry Potter. I was also a big Harry Potter fan in my younger days. Yeah, I still like Harry Potter. So kal ho na ho. Okay, that's a good one. So fantastic, that's great. And especially I want to encourage you to keep interacting in the chat box, please. We're going to have plenty of questions, plenty of interaction. So please be active there in the chat. So if we move back to the slides and looking especially at what is this FLN crisis, right? We're talking about a crisis of literacy. So many children around the world unable to read and write their basic skills. So just going to skip forwards. So yeah, so this FLN crisis, the World Bank recently put out a report called The State of Learning Poverty. Some of you may be familiar with it, and it has this shocking figure that 70% of 10-year-olds around the world in low and middle income countries cannot read a simple text with understanding. They are in learning poverty. So that's shocking, right? 7 out of 10 children who are age 10 cannot read a simple text, and a similar proportion cannot do basic arithmetic or do numeracy. And the remarkable thing is we think, okay, well, of course, COVID dealt a very severe blow. Many of us here in India, around the world, we've seen school education systems closed for a year or even more. We've seen that many children have lost skills during the pandemic. It's been very difficult. However, the sad reality is even before the COVID pandemic, the situation was not so good. Even before then, some 57% of 10-year-olds in low and middle income countries could not read and write. So it's a huge crisis. And that's what our session today is about, is how to address this crisis using this innovative methodology, accelerating learning for all. So literacy is absolutely crucial to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Without literacy, these goals are unattainable, right? And whether we're looking at ending poverty and hunger, whether we're looking at gender and social equality, for all of these points, the achieving universal literacy is absolutely central to these. So that's the world we are striving for, is a world in which every child is able to read their own mother tongue. Every child is able to do basic numeracy. And you, the teachers who are with us here today, you are the change makers. You are the ones who are there to make this dream a reality, the dream of a fully literate world. So without much further ado, then we're going to switch into videos. So the main format of today's session, today's workshop, we'll be watching a short video, 3 or 4 minute video, and then we'll be having a very brief panel discussion. We'll be asking you questions to respond in the chat box. That's the way we'll keep it highly interactive and engaging. So please watch this video carefully, and we're very interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. Before then, I just want to hand back to Sunita, ma'am, to say another word.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, look, the video is a view of the classroom. In a physical training also, you never get to see a classroom. So we can say online training has some advantages and some disadvantages, but the big advantage is you can actually go into a classroom. And so Samvita ma'am, who is here, and another principals have made these videos. The teachers have allowed us to go into their classrooms and capture how mathematics is taught through ALfA. And you can get a richer view, therefore, than just listening to us. So here we go into one of the classrooms.
Today we will do question and answers, okay? So you have to copy it. Question number 1, the wall. Okay, and full stop. So you have to copy this question. What was Tim hitting at the wall? Tim was hitting a ball at the wall.
Who sat on a rat? The cat sat on a rat. Who sat on a mat? The cat sat on a mat.
Today, children, we will learn the table of 2. You have to learn the table by heart. 2 is the 2, 2 to the 4, 2 3 the 6, 2 4 the 8, 2 5 the 10.
What is the first picture? Rishi. What is the first sound? Rick. What is the second picture? Sakur. What is the first sound? Sh. What is the third picture? Alu. What is the first sound? What word will you get when you add the three sounds together? Rishabh.
In traditional classroom, children fear marks and exams. In ALfA pedagogy, children are engaged in joyful learning. They are driven by curiosity.
Hello ma'am. Welcome ma'am. I want to buy few things. Yes ma'am. I want this pencil box. It is of 100 rupees. And I want this book. It is of 50 rupees. And I want this bag. It is of 5 rupees. Plus 100. Plus 50. Plus 5. Equal to 155 rupees. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. Bye-bye. Bye.
So, wow, great video. And indeed, that is the question. Which classroom do you prefer, ALfA or traditional? Absolutely. So I want to hear your thoughts in the chat box. Specifically, what are the differences you saw, right? This video is showcasing some of the differences between ALfA and the traditional classroom. So what are the differences you noticed in this video? I'm realizing that some of you were here in the morning session as well. So some of the videos we're playing in the afternoon session are the same as the morning session videos, and many of them are different, right? Many of them are showcasing numeracy specifically. But this video we wanted to show in both sessions because it's very crucial to get that understanding of what are the basic differences between ALfA and traditional approach to education. So please post your thoughts in the comments. And let me turn first to Samvida ma'am. Because she's there at the coalface, she's there at the ground. So what are the differences you are noticing as you're implementing ALfA? What's the key differences?
Okay. Firstly, in an ALfA class, you see children working in pairs. Children are making their own questions, which we very well saw in the video. Children are also exploring ideas and solutions. Here, teacher is just supporting the teaching and learning that is going on here. It's more child-centric out here. Children take their own time to think and solve. And another one thing I would point out here, there is less homework here and more of classwork, which we see here. And also, if you see the teachers, rather the children get the feedback instantly.
Great. So there's a process
in comparison to a traditional class. And also, children are making their own questions with the assistance of the starter question. The starter question is framed in such a way that umpteen questions could be made out of it.
Fantastic.
So yes.
That's some huge differences, right? Children making their own questions, not just answering questions from the textbook. And I see many of you are picking up on similar things as you're putting in the chat box, and we'll be highlighting throughout some of the best responses we'll be putting up on the screen as well. So please keep posting in the chat. I'm saying, Danish is saying, it's impressive. It involves the children and they're engaging themselves, right? What about the online mode? Excellent question. We'll come to that very shortly. ALfA is helping children to be interactive with each other. Children are actively engaging and experiencing what they are learning, right? It's a more interactive class. Children at the center of the ALfA classroom. Absolutely agree. Very good observations from the video. So let me turn then also to Sunita ma'am and hear your thoughts. Obviously you designed ALfA. So what in your mind are the key differences, differences between ALfA and the traditional classroom?
First, let me give you a bit of historical perspective. Okay, I grew up to a family of educators. We're sitting in this school here in Lucknow. And breakfast, lunch, dinner talk, everything was about education. And normally we kind of make incremental change, little bit of change here, little bit of change. Then we think, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's not a holistic approach to education. It's not all encompassing. So I see that as a difference because it is a breakaway way of doing things. It's not teacher led. It's not teacher led, child centric, which is, centricity depends on the teacher. Some teachers are very child centric. They'll create more groups. They'll create more pairs. It's not even that. It's not the teacher's not the master puppeteer here. In ALfA, the children are leading the show. So you can think of it earlier, teacher did all the work. Children were more or less passive learners. Sometimes they were active, but that sometimes would have been 10%, 20% of the time. Here, children are doing all the work and the teacher is at ease. And this is really happening. I know that many schools and many places around the world you're doing that. It's all about giving the children the agency to make their own decisions, to do their own work on their own, but giving them a format and a structure. So we also are talking about a new normalization. And in this new normalization, the children don't raise their hands. They don't go to the teacher and say, give me a smiley. They don't they don't work with the teacher in that old dynamic of teacher to student transaction of learning. Teachers not teaching here. Children are co-creating learning. How is that possible? I mean, obviously we'll wonder. And you see in mathematics how we do that. Basically, there are lots of things different. Paired work is 99.9% or 100% of the time, 95 minimum. The times they don't do pair working is when the teacher is doing feedback. And then she might do a complete class feedback. That's all. Other time, they're all the time. They come to school, immediately go grab their, who's their pair. There's a process of getting the pairs and all that you'll see later on. And then they are able to go and sit with their pair, new pair, every day, and they're going to work with them. It's not about who is smarter, who's weaker. It's not about classifying children. It's about giving them the wherewithal they can learn by themselves. So that's where the lessons come in, the processes come in. That's where the material comes in. So many ways is different. Teachers don't need a lot of training. You see, you're only getting 3.5 hours of training for numeracy, 3.5 hours for literacy. And we feel that many of you after this can go ahead and do the ALfA program in your classes. And this is why we did MOOT. We know from the morning session that it will work because if you're engaged, you're doing things and you're learning things, you can take them to your classes. That means that's all you need. And the rest of it is done through prompts. Prompts are like ready reference for the teacher. They're ready reference for the child. Children read the prompts when they're capable of reading, which is very quickly in 30 days they learn to read from ground zero, not knowing a single letter of the alphabet. 30 days later, they're reading newspapers. So it is that disruptive, it's that fast, it's 10x. So after they know the skill to read, they can read their own prompts and co-create learning with each other. So teachers not needed. Teachers needed, but in a different way. And we'll share with you
Good
how
point.
that is. That is like as a galvanizer.
Very, very profound points there as to the key differences there between ALfA and the traditional approach. I especially love what you said about the students leading the class, right? It's not just about the students being at the center. The students are also leading, they're taking initiative on their own. And I see that many of you are picking up on very similar points. You're talking about how it's a much more interactive classroom. Children are learning through playing, through activity. It's student-centric, yes, student-led. Most schools are missing out the learning through collaboration and instead are focusing on competition. You're right. So ALfA is much more about collaboration rather than competition. So terrific. Now, understandably, some of you may have questions, right? And I also, I had, especially at the start, my questions, my doubts about this ALfA process. So the next video we're about to share with you gives voice to some of those legitimate questions and doubts. You might be thinking, well, how does this paired learning work in practice? How does it work with young kids? So those are very legitimate questions. Let's have a look at the next video, which is a role play discussing some of those doubts.
Hello, Miss ALfA. Hello, Miss Sharma. How are you? I'm good. I heard you teach the ALfA way. I have some doubts. Can I ask you? Sure, Miss Sharma. Isn't it vital to memorize times table, alphabet? Let me show you a video of my class. Today we will learn even and odd numbers. What we will learn? Even and odd numbers. So repeat with me. 2, 4,
hands-on activities does. Let me show you a video of my class.
Which is the biggest number? 10 is the biggest number. Good. Can you pick any even number? 8 is an even number. Good.
Shouldn't the teacher do whole class activity? Let me show you a video of my class. So 2 plus 7 is 9 and 5 plus 2 is 7. Copy it in your notebook. Five plus 4 is 9 and 3 plus 2 is 5.
In whole class, some kids are left out. Let me show you a video of my class. Every child is engaged in the process of pair learning. So come on, try it with your partners.
If 2 weak students are sitting in a pair, how can they help each other?
We don't categorize or label students. Even so-called weak students can recognize pictures and first sound.
What? If both children are stuck, then surely they should approach the teacher for help. Let me show you a video of my class.
Mom, I can not solve this question.
Okay, come, I will tell you. Okay. Okay?
We can let them struggle a bit. That's how they learn. Encourage them to approach another pair. Let me show you a video of my class.
Exercise Abdul, can you tell me how to make 73? Yes. One ice cream stick means 10 and one math stick means 1. You have to take 7 ice cream sticks and 3 math sticks. Now I have understood.
Your classroom seems so noisy though.
They may be noisy, but it's productive noise. Let me show you a video of my class.
Wow, fantastic video. And I would totally understand these sorts of questions and doubts which Ms. Sharma was raising, right? In fact, I have some of my own, the same ones. So I would like to hear your thoughts in the chat box, right? Any questions at this stage? You know, we've just scratched the surface. We've been talking about how ALfA is a child-led process of paired learning, highly interactive. So any questions you have, any doubts or queries you have at this stage about the ALfA process, we've only just scratched the surface. We'll be seeing a lot more videos. We'll be doing a lot of activities ourselves together, which will help take you deeper in this process. But at this stage, any doubts or queries you have, please post them in the chat because we can bring them up and we can discuss them. So let me now put on my devil's advocate hat, a hat I really enjoy wearing, and turn first to you, Samvida, ma'am. So, ma'am, you've been using this ALfA process in your classroom, but how does it work with such young kids, right? It's even kids as young as 5 or 6 year olds. Now you're doing this paired learning process, but aren't they very easily distracted? How can they even pay attention? Can they really follow the process?
As mentioned earlier, it's not child-centric. ALfA is child-led. So here we see children helping each other, taking turns, and while taking turns, they are reinforcing their learning here and also sharing responsibilities. So they are getting time to look into the problem solution questions, and before answering, they're able to justify the answers helping each other, uplifting each other, looking into the analytical part of it. So if anybody, and as we said, it is paired learning. So every day they are random pairing for the children. So in case one pair was done on a day, the child was not able to understand, comprehend, uplift each other, the role reversal did not take place very well. The next day, it would be a different pair. So every child gets a chance to pair up with some other child in the class. And by the end of the month, or as per the number of the class, every child would have paired with each and every child, and also reinforcing their teaching and learning along. Now, teacher is not, it is the children who are teaching and learning. So your focus is not on teaching, here the focus is on learning.
Wow, very profound statement, and it's going to take me a moment for that to sink in. The teacher is not teaching, right? Sounds paradoxical, but how profound and how powerful. So please keep posting your thoughts, your questions in the chat box. We'll be addressing them, right? So any queries, any thoughts you have there. Let me turn then with my devil's advocate hat to Sunita on my right side. So Sunita, how does this work? How does this process work if two kids, if they're both at ground zero, if suppose we're talking about numeracy, if neither of them know how to count even, then how are they going to teach each other? Surely then the teacher needs to teach them.
Yes, I see here a question also from Danish Ali, that he's saying that in the ALfA video, the students are already aware about the even number. How is that? Second, if anyone already is aware about the solution, when did they learn it? How did they learn it? Now, it's a very good question, because actually what you're seeing is a snippet, a particular point in time when the video has been taken. They've already done some of the lessons prior to that. And there's a new scaffolding. It is based on the principle of known to unknown, right? So they begin with their knowledge like we did in the language classes. Here we begin with giving them material by which they can feel and touch and do things. So you will see that from Tom also. They didn't just get to even and odd. The very first module, we'll show you the book later on, is about, it's a half-page module. Can you imagine just half a page? The same half a page is covered by another government curriculum in 46 pages. Half a page versus 46 pages. What are they doing in the first half page? Is they're learning numbers 0 to 10, and they're learning even and odd numbers in the very first module. But first, before the even and odd, they're learning the numbers. How are they learning numbers? Normally, we tell them this is 1, this is 2, and we will begin them on writing. We're saying, no. Let them have the hands-on experience. So they're using matchsticks, and they're going to make the formation. I'm making for Tom. I'll put some numbers here. First, I'll put them in sequence, and then after that, this is the second thing that we'll do, is put any random numbers, and he has to count and tell me how many.
Okay, so this is 2.
Okay, and I'll put any number now. How many are these?
This is 5.
Can you make a number for me?
Okay, sure. Here you are. How many is this?
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
So like that. So they're touching, feeling, doing with their hands. And you'll see in a little while, you'll see results from a project we are doing on ALfA with the government schools, given to us by the Ministry of Education. And you will see that the children are actually, class 2 children of Shamli are doing numbers in thousands. They're adding and subtracting in 9,000 and 7,000 and things like that. And they're writing thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones, and they're showing it with hands-on material, with matchsticks and ice cream sticks. So this is very important that they learn with this. Now, the beautiful thing about the first module or any module is that it's only half a page. It's a visual. They see the pattern made by the matchsticks. Then there are prompts at the bottom that say how to arrange them, and then which is an even, which is an odd number. And then they learn about even and odd numbers. And after that, they can do any activity related to numbers up to 10. And after that, they learn to write and so on. So there's a sequence we'll share with you in a minute. But certainly, hands-on learning is more powerful. It's understanding, not counting on fingers. It's actually objects. And they can have any objects. They can create their own counters. No, nothing is available. Make paper balls, crumpled paper balls from newspaper. Leaves, stones, pebbles, anything, buttons. So we teach them also to be very resourceful, not to buy material, not to buy plastic, and to be very environmentally conscious.
Absolutely. So exactly right, that it's a very hands-on process. And as Danish was pointing out, some of the videos you're seeing the children already know some concepts, so they will have learned that through this same process, through this hands-on process. There's another question here on screen. The previous question, please, was quite a good one from Shatarupa. Can there be a chance of conflict situations that arise from ego or superior or inferior complexity? If so, how to address or manage? We know this from our own school days, you know, in the schoolyard, some kids can be a bit nasty. So what happens if you're sitting in a pair with a bully? You know, what if one of the children is quite impatient with the other? How does this work? Ma'am, would you like to address this one? How does it work when if the children are not relating so well with each other?
See, in that case, as we said, like the question was, if the children don't know what to do, how the teacher goes about. So here the teacher, while normalization, she gives a sample. So that is what we call what exactly is to be done. So maybe the teacher who's there could show a role play kind of a thing, exhibit, this is how it is happening and it should not be done, for the children to catch on from there, rather than telling them straight away, giving them instructions, you're not supposed to do this. So through that role play or through that exhibit that the teacher has done, the children might understand.
So the teacher is doing a demonstration of the process,
Yes.
and the children are understanding the process. The teacher is not explaining the concept.
No,
but
teacher's
they're
not
showing
explaining the
process.
concept at
They're
all.
showing the process, and through the process, the children are understanding the concept
Yes.
themselves. Right. I'd also like to add on to that for Shatarupa's question. So I work in a slum context, and yes, I see that sometimes kids are impatient with each other. Right. They're like. They struggle then sometimes. One child is bossy for the other, but this is also it's in that bit of struggle, right? That's how those 6C skills are developed, right? The 6C skills are not developed through a textbook, not developed by the teacher lecturing. They're developed through that process in which we're working together. I'm a slow learner. Sunita is getting impatient with me, but that is the process through which we develop our citizenship. That's the process through which we develop our character. Right. So yes, it can be a struggle initially. The teacher is there, as ma'am was sharing, to normalize the class, to set up the new norms of being in pairs, of taking turns. Another good point here we're coming up with, how do we deal with higher grade math problems like algebra, etc. Okay, so later on today, we will be doing a hands-on activity, which is using ice cream sticks and matchsticks for some harder problems. So I hope you enjoy that. Please do stay around for that. I see also there was one question about can ALfA be done outside? Absolutely, right? Some of our classes in the slum are outdoors. Definitely it can be done outdoors, and we are absolutely about the greening of education, right? These materials, as you can see, they're very low cost, they're low carbon, they're biodegradable degradable materials. We're not using so much plastic, right? We're just using easy, cheap, locally available materials. So yes, please do keep posting your questions, your doubts, your queries. That's fantastic level of interaction. So
there is one other question here about how do you do it in Bal Vatika and Anganwadi. I'd like to point out that ALfA is not a class-wise program. The idea is to bring all the children up to grade 3, grade 4 level, which would be considered like the foundational level. And it's not about having children in a particular class be confined to the goals of that class. So we have 5-year-olds reading newspapers. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 kids. We're talking about the whole class. And how is that possible? We just underestimate the capacity of the children. So these Anganwadi children, these Bal Vatika children, they can read newspapers. But the teacher has to believe, and they have to also believe in the pedagogy, which we are saying is the missing ingredient. What is going on in the world at large is not serving the children as much, because they're being taught by the teacher, number one. Two, they're not learning by hands-on materials always. Yes, they do sometimes hands-on. We also used to do, before this ALfA came along, we used to do a lot of hands-on activities. Our books had these hands-on activities at the beginning of every chapter. But that's not what we are talking about. We are talking about children co-creating learning and spending a lot of time on task, going through the materials on their own, teachers sitting in a corner, they're doing these things on their own, making questions for each other. So many things that are at a glance and at the deeper level, very, very different. So I think that Anganwadi children, can do a lot, and they can also use the same learning materials. We don't draw a line. If some children are going on to do Anganwadi children doing grade 2 or grade 3 material, I have no problem with that. We have no problem with that, and they are. And many children of grade 2, you will see this class 2. results and outcomes from Shamli, and which is a government school, set of government schools, you will see that these kids are in 45 days doing things that are grade 3 and above. And these are grade 2 children, just 45 days. And this is what kind of disruption these methods can create.
Wow. Incredible. So indeed, we want to not just be talking about this, we want to be showing you more footage from the classroom. So that will be our next video coming up, in which specifically we're focusing on numeracy. We're looking at how kids are doing these activities in pairs, how that is building their conceptual understanding, their practical understanding of maths. I want to say again, thank you so much for the excellent questions you're posting in the chat box. We don't have the chance to address all of them verbally, but we'll try to address as many as we can, and we'll also be addressing them in the chat box ourselves. Our team will be addressing. So let's go on. Let's have a look at the next video, which is focusing specifically on numeracy, how this process of paired learning and concrete to abstract works for numeracy.
We are going to cover module 4.
All right.
We know about tens and ones,
Yeah.
but we are going to learn it in a different way. So one snap means 1 once.
Okay.
Right. And then
One
one
clap.
clap means 110.
110. All right.
Right. So here we go. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, it's your turn now.
Okay.
Give me some bigger number.
Bigger number. All right.
61.
You're right. High five.
Yes. I want my children to try this. Would you like to try this? Yes. So let's get started. Start.
$555. Excellent. Let's start one game. Okay. First, you will start. Okay. $431. Excellent. Now my turn. $420. The game name is 100 tens and ones. Can we start? Yes. First, I will tell you how to play. Sketch pen is for hundreds. Okay. Ice cream stick for tens. And the matchstick is for ones. Can you make 154? 154? Yes. You have done wrong. I have said 54. You have 54. Yes, you have right. See. No, shit, you are doing wrong. See. It just come here. Okay, can you write 154 on the copy? Yes. Okay, good. First my turn, then your turn. What is position of this shelf? Column D, row 4. Okay, now your turn. Where is this flower? Column C, 5, row 5. Excellent. Now your turn. Okay, where this is duck. A column, row 2. Hello Anushka, today we are going to do data handling. Okay, so are we going to ask the questions? Yes. How many children like orange color? Okay, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 30 children like orange color. You are right. How many children like red color? Let I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 children like red colors. You are right. I will make pictures and you will tell how many sticks I have used. Okay. How many sticks I have used to create this pattern? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have used 9 mastics to create this pattern. You are correct. Now you will ask. Tell how many I have used mastics to draw this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have used 11 sticks to make this pattern. Let's check. Yes, you are right.
Wow, so beautiful video. Terrific to see those kids working in their classroom in pairs. Lots of different fascinating activities they're doing. A lot to process. So maybe let's start by doing one activity together ourselves. I hope if you're sitting with somebody, maybe you could do this activity with them, or otherwise you can just do it yourself as well. So we saw towards the beginning of that video, the kids were doing a clapping and snapping activity, right? In which one clap is 10 and one snap is 1. This is a kinesthetic approach we use to represent two-digit numbers. So let's do it together, right? And maybe you can also, if you're with a partner, one of you can do the clapping and snapping and the other can say what number it is. So,
Or you can just do yourself. One time it's you, and the other time it's your other self.
your alter ego.
Your alter ego.
so Samvida ma'am, I'm going to clap and snap a number. You tell me what it is, please. Right?
Sure.
Okay. Ready? Here we go.
32.
Okay, great. Your turn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 44.
Bingo.
Absolutely
Stand up and do 100.
Okay, so we can take this a step further, right? And in fact, I think that was shown in this video that we can also take it a step further with an overhead clap being 100, right? We use this to symbolize 100, and so clap here will be 10, and a snap will be 1. So Sunita, I'm going to do this one with you.
Okay? But this also is 1,000.
So that's, yeah, we can, let's take it to 3 digits for now,
okay.
right? And you guys also, who are watching, if you're with somebody, please do this with them, right? One of you clap and snap a number, and the other person respond with what number it is. It's a fun activity, trust me.
And then they reverse roles.
And reverse roles, right?
Yeah.
So like you saw with Samvida and I, we took turns. Taking turns is a key part of the process. Okay, so Sunita, you ready for a 3-digit number?
I am indeed.
Here we go. Ready?
Uh, 323.
Excellent. Well done.
See, I have to concentrate so much. That's the other thing, because I have to actually watch the other person. This is also teaching listening skills, is teaching patience, it's concentration, so many things.
So your turn now.
My turn.
Whew, I think that was 989. Maybe somebody in the chat box can correct me. I'm not sure if you were able to catch it, but I think it was
good.
989.
Well done, Tom.
So I hope if you're sitting with somebody, even by yourself, you can try this activity, right? And as you saw in the classroom, children are doing this in pairs. The teacher is not directing. The teacher is not saying everybody make a certain number. The kids in pairs are making their own numbers for each other, and that's a process that's much more interesting, much more engaging. So I hope you guys
Let's
are
do
doing
1,000.
that.
Let's do 1,000.
You want to try 1,000?
Yes. See,
Okay.
the kids are unbelievable. They go far higher than we'll give them. We say make 45. They're at 450. They're making far bigger strides. So let's trust them. Okay, let's do thousands.
Okay, sure. Your turn first. So
Okay.
now here the fist pump is 1,000. You can use whatever symbols you like. You can invent more symbols. The kids can invent more symbols. For us, we're using the fist pump as 1,000, the overhead clap as 100, in front clap as 10, and snap as 1. Okay, Sunita, this is going to be a test for my memory. Let's see. Okay. Okay, you made it easy for me. Thank you for that. 8,765. Decreasing order. Very nice of you. Otherwise, my RAM was struggling a bit. So great. I hope if you're in a pair, maybe you can do that activity with each other. And I'm sure that's something that your kids will love to do in your classroom. You can start with 2-digit numbers, and you'll be surprised. The kids will move from 2-digit to 3-digit and 4-digit very quickly indeed. So let's show you the next video, right? Which is looking again more specifically at the mechanics of the process with ice cream sticks and matchsticks. Now it need not be ice cream sticks and matchsticks. Obviously, you're welcome to use any other counters. So if you have not got this yet, I'd request you to just take a very quick break. Go and grab something from your kitchen, right? You could grab spoons, pens, buttons, beads, absolutely anything at all. You'll need 2 different objects, about 10 or 15 of each, okay? Because then we're going to do some fun additions, multiplication, division, various activities together with these. So very quickly, dash to your kitchen, grab 2 different objects, 10 or 15 of each. You can grab a newspaper, you can make little paper balls, you can make little paper strips, you could use that. So any concrete object that you've got. So let's show you the video which shows the mechanics of this process of how we can do addition, subtraction, so forth with these concrete objects, and then we'll do it together.
We have understood how alphanumeracy works by seeing classroom footage and looking through the books. Now it's time to give some hands-on activities a try to experience the power of alpha firsthand. You will need 2 different types of objects to represent tens and ones. For instance, you could use ice cream sticks, leaves, or pebbles to represent tens, and matchsticks, rubber bands, or buttons to represent ones. In this video, we'll show questions using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. Please pause the video now and get at least 20 each of 2 different items. You will also need a couple sheets of paper and a pen. Please don't just watch the video, do the activities yourself with your counters. Let's start by doing an addition problem, like 25 plus 17. First, let's represent 25 using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. How will we do that? Feel free to pause the video to get it out. In fact, keep pausing the video whenever you need to. That's right, 2 ice cream sticks and 5 matchsticks. Now we'll get out 17. How do we represent that? You got it, 1 ice cream stick and 7 matchsticks. Now we are going to add them together. We'll start with the matches. If we bring them together, how many will we have? Exactly, we've got 12. So what will we do with 12 matchsticks? That's right, we need to exchange 10 matchsticks for an ice cream stick. That still leaves us with 2 matchsticks. Now we can group the ice cream sticks together. So how many have we got? You got it, 4 ice cream sticks. We also had 2 matchsticks from earlier. So what's that in total? Correct, 42. You just experienced how children solve a 2-digit addition problem in the ALfA process. You can see the concrete to abstract approach in action, with children beginning by moving and exchanging the counters, but then the written work makes so much more sense afterwards. The extra ice cream stick made from 10 matchsticks is what we call carrying. In a classroom, children would be working in pairs and making many more such problems for each other. Now let's try a subtraction problem using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. Suppose we are doing 45 minus 19. First, how can you represent 45? Feel free to pause the video to get it out. That's right, 4 ice cream sticks and 5 matchsticks. Now we need to take away 19. How will we do this? You're right, we can't take away 9 matchsticks from 5 matchsticks. So what will we do? You got it. We have to take change for an ice cream stick. We can exchange it for 10 matchsticks. Now we can subtract more easily. We had 15 matchsticks and we removed 9 to leave 6. We had 3 ice cream sticks and we removed 1 to leave 2. So that gives a total of 26. You can see that an ice cream stick was exchanged for 10 matchsticks, the process we call borrowing. Again, the hands-on activity makes the concept and process very tangible and understandable.
Aditi Basu
Wow,
Roy,
that is
ADHD.
fantastic. So I hope you've all grabbed some materials yourself, be it ice cream sticks and matchsticks, or spoons, button, beans, leaves, pebbles, can be absolutely anything, right? Hope you grabbed something and you can do this yourself or with a partner, right? Well, very quickly, we'll be doing some of these activities in front of you with each other, and please do it yourselves as well. But firstly, there's some excellent questions coming into the chat box. So let me address a couple of those. One question was about ADHD or special needs children. So maybe I'll turn this one over to Dr. Sunita, because many of the students in your schools, you've got a few special needs kids, as I understand. So how does the ALfA process work for kids with ADHD?
Actually, whether a child is hyper, which would be the ADHD child, dyslexic or certain spectrum of autism, we can handle them in regular classes very well. What we find is that the process helps them more than the traditional system. In the traditional system, they're passive observers. Here, they're actually doing something with their hands. And research is very conclusive that when there's something in their hands, or anybody's hands for that matter, that there is a better mind connection with the hand. So touching, feeling, doing with your hands has a powerful impact on mind connections. Secondly, it settles down the hyperactivity. And so, like sometimes you see these Native Americans doing this ritual of holding, a sacred thing in their hand, and it centers the energy. Similarly, when they're doing things with their hands, it allows them to settle more. And I think we found that the children with ADHD in particular, as you mentioned in your question, they tend to be learning more quietly and more with more concentration, while in the traditional classroom, they'll be running around the class and they'll be disturbing everyone. And the teacher's job merely becomes, half the time she's trying to discipline these 4 kids out of 30, 40 kids who are constantly at it. In government schools also, we've seen these kids running around. They don't want to sit down in the class at all. And so you have to find a way to settle the energy. The one-is-to-one approach also helps them. And the idea of touching, feeling, and doing on their own, it empowers them. So it helps them. But every kind of special need that is not too severe a special need that requires specialists, these children can be fully integrated in an ALfA classroom.
Fantastic, great. So maybe let's come now to this hands-on activity, right? As Sunita was saying, we want to cater to a variety of learning styles, right? So the kinesthetic, the clapping and snapping, also the tactile, right? So the concrete objects. So I'm going to write a question here for Sunita, and please, all of you can also write your own question. If you're sitting with a partner, write one question for your partner, they will solve, or else you can also solve this question which I'm writing for Sunita, right? Use your concrete objects, right? Obviously, you'll be able to solve it easily, but use your concrete objects, get a feel for how this approach works. Okay, so Sunita, how are you feeling with your addition skills? Good? Okay, so here's the problem for you. I've got...
So the trick is not to solve it like the traditional way and the teacher teaching how to add, carry over, all that. This is all very abstract. Here we want them to understand physically what does addition mean. So here what I would probably do is take for 45, 4 sticks 10, 20, 30, 40. And the kids have by this time learned already when they get to addition, this idea of tens being an ice cream stick or another object. And then I'll take for one, since we have matchsticks here, I'll take 5 matchsticks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that becomes 45.
You can see the, by the way, in case it's not clear here, it's 45 plus 28. That's the question. So if you've got your concrete objects with you, please solve this yourself using your concrete objects.
So now the addition of 28, I'll put 20 then. I'll take 8 out of the singles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ask the children to always place the ones on the right side of the tens, and also to place things in an order so that they don't get confused themselves. So I'll put them here in order and facing the same way up. So they can take their time. There's no rush. They must get the first one really, understood before they go on to making their own questions. And so here we have 45. I'm double checking 28. And so what we'll do is take the ones together and then add the ones together and put the tens together. So when we do this, we've got 1, 2. They've already done trading of 10 matchsticks with 1 ice cream stick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I can take these 10 and put them away back in the matchstick box, and I can take from the bank 1 more ice cream stick. So I'm left with 3 matchsticks, and now I have how many ice cream sticks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the answer is 73.
Okay, and can you write that? Lovely. Wow. So you saw that process, the process of addition with carrying, right? It's an abstract concept, this carrying of we're doing 5 and 8 is 13, putting 1 here. There's a concept that's kind of difficult for kids to understand, right? And I've seen kids do this, but then I ask them, what does this 1 mean? And they have no idea. They're just following the mechanics of the process, but they have no understanding of why or what they're doing, right? Whereas here, as Sunita showed you, this is a very tangible way to understand, right? Using these, we've got 13 matchsticks, we're exchanging 10 for 1 ice cream stick. So that's what this 1 is doing up here, right? That's how the process works. Do you want to ask me a subtraction question to see how it works for subtraction?
Yes, right.
And again, I hope you've got the materials with yourself and with your partner. You can ask your partner a question. Please do that. They will solve themselves with these concrete objects, be it ice cream sticks and matchsticks or something else. And looks like Sunita is giving me a tricky question. It's 92 minus 19. So, okay, once again, I'm going to start by representing 92 using these concrete objects. So I first need 9 ice cream sticks for my 90, 90, and 2. So there's my 92. Now I'm thinking, okay, I need to take 19 away, which means I need to get rid of 9 matchsticks. But the problem is I've only got 2 matchsticks here. So I can't get rid of 9 matchsticks. I can't take away 9 matchsticks. So what I'm going to have to do is the opposite of what Sunita did. Sunita did carrying, converting 10 matchsticks for 1 ice cream stick. Here I'm going to have to do the opposite. I'm going to take 1 ice cream stick, going to have to put that back in the bank, and in exchange, I'm going to take 10 ice cream sticks. Oh, sorry, 10 matchsticks. So I'm going to take 10 matchsticks. That's 4, 8, 10. So I've got 10 more matchsticks coming here. So there we are. So now I can remove 19 much more easily. I've got here, I'll check, I've got 10, 11, 12. I've got 12 matchsticks now. So now of these 12, I can remove 9. So I'm taking away 9 for the 19. And I'm also taking away, now I've only got 8 ice cream sticks left. I'm taking away 1 of those for the 19. So you can see here, I've removed 19, and now I can check what I have left. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 10s. So that's 70, and 3 1s. So that's 73. So there we go, 73. Can you check? Is
Now,
that correct?
can you believe that with the addition sum we got 73 and with the negative sum we got 73?
I think it's a trick. You did it deliberately. Very clever.
Yeah.
So
kids can play fun, and the good thing is, or very impressive thing is, that after they've understood what they're expected to do, they make sums for each other. And in the time that you'll say, okay, everybody write down 70, what is it? 45 plus 28, and I'll come around and see everybody's done it right. In this time, they'll have made about 20 questions for each other, which is better. And then so much time on task, they're counting, they're double checking each other's work, they're, instant feedback, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of hands-on learning, and therefore the learning is more real, it's more understood by the children, they have the number sense, therefore they can see things more quickly after so much of practice, and they can then transcribe that into written. A lot of times we do the hands-on activity, but we don't connect it to the written form. So it's both.
Right, absolutely. So I think we're going to take we've been having a great discussion, right? A lot to get our heads around, and I hope that you have these materials with you and you're doing these activities yourself, because it's going to be much more interesting for you if you're not just looking at us do it, but if you're doing it yourself with your own hands. That's how you'll really understand the power of this process. So I think we've got a lot to process. So let's move on to a little song, right? Just as a breather, right? A 1 or 2 minute song, bit of music to relax and to reflect on this, reflect on what we've been discussing so far today, which is about this process of paired learning, children interacting with each other, using these concrete, tangible objects to really make the learning real and practical. So we'll have a brief song, and then we'll come back to see how this works for higher order maths as well, how this works for multiplication, division, fractions, and more.
Okay, here's a question by Tetia Rivang. By using this type of adding or subtraction, they may not get familiar on place value or place value addition subtraction, right? This is a comment from one of you, Tetia Rivang, and I think you can see that when you are touching, feeling, trading, whichever way, either you're trading tens for ones or the other way around, you're trading 10 matchsticks for one ice cream stick, they're actually learning carrying over and borrowing, both those concepts, and they understand for real. In just a few minutes, I'll be sharing with you a video of these classroom outcomes, and you will see how big numbers the children are doing because of this process with full understanding. We've only gone into tens, like 45 and 28. These kids are going into thousands, and there's a grade 2 children.
So thanks again for your comments. Keep posting the comments, and we're listening to a very brief song. We want to have a mental relax, and then we'll be back for more like multiplication and division.
I watch them bloom for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I see skies blue, clouds white, bright blessed days, and the dark secret night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear
Beautiful song, and indeed, what a wonderful world it is. There's lots of challenges, lots of difficulties we face, lots of heartbreak in this world, but it is truly also a wonderful world, a beautiful world filled with beautiful people and beautiful children, as we saw in that song. And hats off to all of you who are here with us today. Here in India, it's just been Holi yesterday. Many of us are still in a festive mood. I've got my team around me. Many of them still have colors on their face. And we're in a festive mood, but we're still here at work. We're focusing on this crucial question of education and how we can deliver literacy and numeracy for all. So hats off to you for joining us today and for discussing these crucial issues. So I want to move forwards then in the program, and we've been seeing that paired learning, this process of kids working in pairs, asking each other questions, that is really the heart of the ALfA process. So in the next video, we're going to see more footage from the classroom to understand how this process of paired learning works, how to make pairs, how frequently we make pairs, why it works, how it works. We're going to be seeing all that in the next video.
Paired learning is the cornerstone of the ALfA program. Children working together in pairs enable rapid rates of learning. In this video, we're going to discuss that why paired learning is effective, why random pairing, and how to make pairs. Let's begin with why paired learning is effective.
Many studies have shown that paired learning is more swift and it's more effective, and it helps in improving children's performance, their academic performance, their social development, as well as their motivation and the engagement in the activity.
A traditional classroom has a teacher people ratio of 40:1, which really makes it difficult for the teacher to pay attention on each and every child. When we talk about random pairing, this ratio becomes 1:1. The child is engaged and doing the activities.
The Times of India Joe Smith tracks are up to half-kilometer long, 2 feet wide. A ground survey of the cracks revealing the vulnerability of the area, reports Shivani Azad. Speaking at the UP Global Investors Summit in Grajwal on Friday, Tata Sons chairman
Okay, so now we know that pair learning is effective, but now the question is how to make pairs.
Okay, so there are different ways of making pairs. We can even use paper chits, right? Or ice cream sticks on which you can write down the roll numbers of the children, and you can call out one child who will pick the ice cream sticks, and he or she is going to call out the roll numbers written on it, and then those two children will come together and sitting in a pair. Let's start the class with the random pairing. Namya, please come out and call out your friends' roll numbers.
roll number 44 and roll number 5.
Yes, roll number 44 and 5, please come. Gati, please come out and call out the next two roll numbers.
The next two roll numbers are 14 and 46.
Okay, roll number 46 and 14, please come out from your places and sit together. Very good. Avyukta, please come out and call out the next two roll numbers.
The next two roll numbers are 25 and 36.
Okay, roll number 25 and 36, please come out and sit together. Now the question comes, why random pairs?
Random pairs, what I think, that children enjoy the surprise. They understand better when they have a concept explained by their peers, whose thought processes are almost similar to their own thought processes. It also avoids sorting and labeling of children. Labeling and sorting of children, it really disheartens them.
Today we are going to read Sun, Moon, Sky and Stars. When we get up in the morning, it is daytime. We always see the sun shining in the sky. Planet has its satellites too, As planets go around the sun, satellites go around their planets. Hey Anvi, I don't know the meaning of satellite. Please tell me the meaning of satellite. Yes, let me search from my dictionary. Okay. An artificial object placed on our orbit around a planet. Thank you, Anvi. Hey, Anvi, let's revise chapter Sun, Moon, Sky, and Stars. What are stars? Why do they appear small? The stars are big ball of fire. They appear small because they are very far away. Correct.
So are the pairs going to be same for the entire session, or do we change them?
No, we quite frequently change the pairs every day. In fact, like for every topic. The reason behind this is that they get to work frequently with each other at some point of time over the month.
How may I help you, sir? I want the juice and this puppet, but the cost of the juice is 20 rupees and the cost of this puppet is 50 rupees. Don't worry, I have the change amount. Okay, there. Oh, 100. Let me calculate, sir. The left amount is 30. Thank you, sir. Thank you. At what time do you wake up? I wake up at 6 o'clock. When do you go to school? I go to school at 8 o'clock. Which time did you take dinner? Take my dinner at 8:25. When you go to play? I go to play at 3 o'clock.
Learning in action to see how those random pairs are made using these ice cream sticks. In fact, very versatile, these ice cream sticks. How the class is made random pairs and fresh pairs every day. Now, I want to ask you all a question to please respond in the chat box. It's fantastic how active you've been there in the chat. So how do you feel about this prospect of using paired learning in your classroom, right? Do you feel excited? Do you feel daunted? Do you think it'll be really challenging? Do you think it's easy? I want to hear your thoughts as educators. How do you feel about this prospect? Maybe you're already doing paired learning to some extent. How is it going for you? If not, what are your thoughts? Are you excited to do it? Scared? What are your thoughts about this prospect of using paired learning in your classroom? And as we wait for those questions and comments to come in, I'm going to ask one of the questions that came earlier in the chat. I want to highlight and ask you, Dr. Sunita. So the question was a very good one by Inger, I think. It was about, as teachers, we actually quite like to be in control. And I can empathize with this myself as a teacher, right? I like the process. I like feeling in control. So how does it work when we relinquish control, when we let the students lead the process? Are we a bit afraid of that chaos, the potential noisiness of the classroom? How do you respond to that?
Firstly, thank you, Inger, joining us from Norway. And it's a very thoughtful question, but it also shows how teacher is a breed, a particular breed, and they all think the same and they want the same. And we're all molded by the same old education worldwide, which is basically teacher-led education. We love it when the children raise their hands because we get a chance to show them something that we know more than them. Actually, the opposite should be the joy and pleasure of a teacher, as you can understand. When you say, I don't know that question,
sometimes teachers play dumb by design. And of course, we have to be more honorable and honest. But I remember one of my teachers saying to me, this little 3-year-old, she's teaching playgroup, came up to her and said, "Ma'am, did I get this right?" So ma'am looked at her and said, "But my throat is very bad. I cannot tell you today." And she really acted it out. And this girl went back. She said, "Ma'am cannot tell." Another day she came and then Anisha told her that, "Oh, I can't talk today. I don't know. I don't know this question. I don't know the answer of this question." So ma'am doesn't not know that question. And me and my pair, we figured it out. And we went and taught ma'am, right? So in a way, this should be the joy and pleasure of a teacher, to see without her doing anything, she's doing everything. She's the master orchestrator. She's sitting in the corner. She's got her eye on every child. She knows what's exactly going on, but she chooses to differ. She chooses not to say. She chooses not to teach. She chooses to really allow the children to blossom on their own and to figure things out on their own. She's always there. She can always teach them, but she doesn't. And so if one pair doesn't know it, earlier there was a question Tom had posed to me, and I think I didn't quite understand, which was when two kids don't know, both of them don't know. So what do? Do you tell them? Do you go and sit next to them? I would say no, don't do that. Pair them, reshuffle the class again. Let's hope they sit with another child who knows. You give them a whole night to think about it. Next day they come, they know. We are not patient. And I think we need to learn these new skills of a teacher. And what's happening, what's really interesting, like in some of the schools we've tried out, both public and private schools, like Samvida's school, who's the principal, that the teachers are saying, look, we are feeling our freedom for the first time. We don't have to do planners anymore. And they're so pleased about that. We are not having to do take back correction work home, stacks of correction work home. When they start to feel the new space, they're actually happier as well. And when they see results of their children, because what does a teacher really ultimately want? Teacher wants that her children should do ever so well. They just don't know there are better ways. They've been taught certain skills like think, pair, share. So they do that some of the time. They do some group work some of the time. They bring hands-on learning out for some of the time. But it's all very orchestrated by the teacher. Though the children are more active in such a classroom, but they're not active all the time. They're not thinking for themselves all the time. At least 50% or more of the time, the teacher is doing the pep talk or the talk and the explaining. And we say teachers should not explain. Even in grade 12, the teacher should not explain. 9, concepts you've never done, determiners, matrices you've never done, don't explain. And how does it work? So ALfA is not just for pre-primary and primary. ALfA is a process, is a way of thinking.
Beautiful, absolutely. Very well said that it's not just for pre-primary, right? You can definitely teach algebra, you can teach geometry, you can teach all of these things through the same process of paired learning and activities. I just want to highlight some of the great comments coming in. So thank you so much for your action there, and for your interactiveness. Ruchi is saying it's always effective, but the teaching should be pre-planned for this. So I totally agree with that. Yes, it should be pre-planned, and in fact, that's the power of the ALfA books, is that we're providing you that pre-planning, those prompts. We're providing you a list of what materials you'll need. You can, as the teacher, you can ask your students to bring materials from their homes ahead of time, right? Danish has brought up a good point. It'll be very impactful. However, I'm a little worried about how to manage with the likes of students with whom I have studied in my school. So we have some memories of our own days in school. And maybe some may be fond memories, some may be not so fond. So Samvida ma'am, maybe I'll ask you on this one. We all know that there's some so-called naughty children in the class, right? Who are disruptive, who are disobedient. So how does this process work there?
It's always said that when you have a naughty child, make them more responsible. So here, there are added more responsibilities to them. Once they have finished, they guide the other child, adding more questions to it, getting more activities done, taking a little, looking into it, the children who are not able to come at par. That is how the teacher uses those children. Like the other time it was said that suppose one particular pair, it's not able to meet, the goal, what is there. They're taking their own time. So they're reshuffling them, they're coming, and maybe they are reshuffled with these children. That is an added responsibility given to these children along with the pair who's already with them.
Right, very, very true. So you're saying giving responsibility to the child often helps them blossom into a more responsible person. If we're not giving them that responsibility, how will they become more mature?
Absolutely.
So even the so-called naughty, right, they also can learn this. They can learn these skills of collaboration and communication. And in fact, unless we're giving them that chance, they're not going to pick it up, right? If it's just you as the teacher, me as the teacher lecturing them, then it's not going to be effective. They're not going to develop that maturity.
And trust me, when we give them the chance, we give them that power, that they are the ones, who are leading in the class. You see very, very concrete work coming up, which is absolutely joyful and fun. And you see the way they are engrossed in it. The naughtiness, everything they forget. But then it is also productive.
Right, absolutely. Right. So maybe going back to Inga's point, which Sunita addressed so well, it's not about the teacher being in control. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of chaos, a little bit of noise, but that is also productive noise. It's beautiful noise. It's the noise of kids having fun and actually getting their hands on learning. So I want to show you another video, right, in which we're looking at more footage, right, from the classroom and what Ma'am was sharing earlier.
कोरोना से पहले बच्चे पढ़ नहीं पाते थे, उनको काफ़ी दिक्कत का सामना करना पड़ रहा था।
जिस टाइम ये कक्षा 3 में आए थे, बहुत कमज़ोर बच्चे थे। कुछ बच्चे 2 अक्षरों वाले शब्द भी नहीं पढ़ पाते थे, कुछ को वर्णमाला का भी ज्ञान नहीं था।
जून की छुट्टियों में और कोरोना काल में जो भी इन्होंने पढ़ा लिखा था, सब ये भूल चुके थे।
लेकिन अब 2-4 बच्चों को ही छोड़कर जो डेली नहीं आ रहे, सभी बच्चे पढ़ने लगे।
इसके सहयोग से बच्चे पेयर लर्निंग में बेहतर तरीके से सीख पा रहे हैं। बच्चों का लेवल जो पहले 0 था, मात्र 15 या 20 दिन में बच्चे जो शेष हैं वो भी बहुत अच्छे से सीख पाएंगे।
जो बच्चे किताब नहीं पढ़ पा रहे थे, आज बहुत से बच्चे अखबार पढ़ रहे हैं।
देवी संस्थान के कार्यक्रम जो चलाया जा रहा है, ये FLN प्रशिक्षण वाला, वो काफ़ी सराहनीय है। मैं बेहद खुश हूँ कि हाँ, मेरे बच्चे पढ़ पाते हैं, कक्षा 1, कक्षा 2 सभी बच्चे।
तो रिजल्ट बहुत ही उत्साहजनक और सकारात्मक हैं। जैसे कि देखने में आया, अटेंडेंस बच्चों की बढ़ी है।
एक भेड़िया गड्ढे में गिर पड़ा, उसने बहुत कोशिश की पर गड्ढे से बाहर नहीं निकल सका। भैया हमारी चिड़िया रानी पिंजरे लाकर मैले बनाती, ऊंची डाली पर लटकाती, खेतों से पीता ना लाती।
पाठ का क्या नाम है? चांद। एक दूसरे से प्रश्न पूछोगे?
हाँ जी। सूरज में रोशनी कहाँ आती है? सूरज की अपनी रोशनी है, क्योंकि सूरज एक तारा है। की ओर से व्हाइट हाउस, रक्षा विभाग, पेंटागन और विदेश मंत्रालय ने अलग अलग बयान जारी कर अपना।
चलो बनवाओ संख्या कोई साथी से।
4405।
शाबाश। चलो बेटा, साथी को सवाल बोलो कोई।
7050।
7050।
2163।
2163 घटाओ इसको। सही क्या बेटा, इसने घटा करके क्या संख्या आई है?
4887।
वेरी गुड, बहुत अच्छा।
105 की 6 गुना था। Studies.
वेरी गुड। एक लिखो स्कूल और एक बच्चा लिखो जगतपुर। शाबाश। घड़ी में टाइम बनाना आ गया बेटा? घड़ी में टाइम देख के बता दोगे अब? 5:45 बनाओ। शाबाश शाबाश, बहुत अच्छे। 10:05। सही बनाया बेटा इसने? सही बनाया, शाबाश। चलो सामान खरीदो दुकान से।
100 का बुलेट बम दो, 10 के बीडी बम, 10 के आलू बम, 5 के काजू दे दो।
कितने हुए?
125 जी।
ठीक है। चलो बेटा इनसे कोई आकृति बनवाओ।
आया तक और
शाबाश।
The workload of teacher has reduced, and then copy correction work is also like somehow reduced because they are checking each other's work. For me, I will say the role of teacher has changed drastically in ALfA classroom. Children work here in pairs, so they used to go home and they used to work with their parents as pairs. So with this, I think parents have also been a part of ALfA.
What makes me most happy is that my daughter reads newspaper daily. I have seen children coming home and demanding their parents for toys, gadgets and different expensive items. But to my surprise, my daughter insisted me, Papa, please buy English newspaper. You can say this for how many kids these days? It's very rare.
All the things that are being done in ALfA modules, they are eco-friendly as well as cost-free.
In ALfA, I've never been required to buy any material from outside. My child's learning resources are made with waste items which are lying at home. She uses chickpeas, grams, newspaper and sticks to make her resources.
हमें ऐसे प्रयासों की जरूरत है जो फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी को न केवल प्री पैंडेमिक की स्थिति में बल्कि उससे कहीं ऊपर हमें पहुंचा सके। इस दिशा में मैं सुनीता गांधी जी को उनके कंसेप्ट और प्रोग्राम एक्सेलरेटिंग लर्निंग फॉर ऑल अथवा ALfA के लिए बधाई देना चाहूंगा, जो आप देश के विभिन्न हिस्सों में संचालित कर रही हैं। साथियों, इस प्रोग्राम के माध्यम से लोगों को 90 डेज में लिटरेट बनाया जा सकता है। मैं आशा करता हूं कि आने वाले समय में बड़ी संख्या में लोग इससे जुड़ेंगे और इसे सपोर्ट करने के लिए आगे आएंगे।
Wow, well, that was pretty powerful, wasn't it? To see those young kids doing 4-digit subtraction problems, telling the time like 10:05, and doing those big multiplication problems as well. That was pretty incredible. And especially I'd like to point out that much of that footage was from government schools in Shamli, a district of Uttar Pradesh. And here in India, many kids in government schools are from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds, right? These are not privileged kids. These are those so-called naughty kids, right? Kids from slums like my own. And these are kids who are excelling, who are doing these remarkably large problems with which most kids 2-3 years older than them cannot do. So, Sunita ma'am, I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. What's your reaction to that sort of footage? What do you think of how those students are achieving in their numeracy using this approach? Sunita, any thoughts as you reviewed that footage? Pretty incredible, wasn't it?
I think it's totally incredible. And, what is remarkable is to witness that children are capable. You know, they are doing things that are well beyond their class level, and they're doing it with confidence. They're posing questions for each other. Teachers going around the class. This is not a professional footage. No videographer went there. This is the original footage taken in the class with their own mobiles. And they were posting this in a WhatsApp group, and I happened to capture it, and then we put it together in a video. So this is authentic as it gets. And what's also interesting, and let's remind ourselves, only 45 days that this happened, and they went beyond Nippon goals. After the 45 days, they went over the textbooks of the government schools for the whole year in another 15, 20 days. So even though they were given another 45 days, they finished a lot earlier. Then they were reading storybooks and newspapers and doing more difficult math sums, and they were just having a lot of fun. So I think that that's all possible. We just have to think differently. I'd like to remind you that if you're here and you continue to stay here with us, at the end you'll be getting a quiz. And that quiz is on numeracy, and some opinion questions are also there. But say 9 questions are there for you to answer regarding the concepts that are covered in the training. So listen carefully, because continue with your cooking or whatever you might be doing, but do listen in 1 year here at least, so that when you take the quiz, you get at least 50% marks to get a certificate of participation. And if you get 80% and above, you get a certificate of accomplishment. And I saw many of them with that, you know, well done stamp as well on top of that, star and all that. So I want to thank Quizzes, QUIZZ. That's a Quizzes company, and they are the biggest provider of assessments in the world. They have 54 million users worldwide, and they have given us access to this. So I'm very grateful, and you'll be taking their quiz just at the end of this training. So please stay alert and get yourself the certificates. But it's not about getting certificates. It's more about also getting your resources to be able to go teach numeracy in your classes. So we'll be giving those who ask for it at the end of the quiz. There is a question. One of the questions, opinion questions, would you want it? And if you say yes, then we'll be happy to send you these resources online.
So as you're speaking, I'm also reminded that we're up to a total of 45 countries who have registered, who are here as part of the training. This is, of course, a 2-day series of rolling trainings, right? First in the morning, we had literacy, now numeracy. Later on in a few hours, we'll have literacy again. Then tomorrow, we'll be doing the same thing. So we're so blessed, so fortunate to have people here from over 45 different countries, and from within India, 27 states of India. So that's fantastic. It's so wonderful to have such a diversity of people present here. And I'm especially excited that so many of you are being very active in the chat box with your responses to the classroom footage we are seeing. So as Sunita shared, please do make sure you stick around till the quiz at the end, because when you do the quiz, you'll be getting these e-learning materials, which will be very helpful for you in your classroom. So in fact, that's what we want to move on to next, is having a look. We've seen some of the results from the classroom. We've seen how this is looking, the classroom footage. Let's have a look next at the actual video of seeing how the numeracy book looks, right? What's its structure? What's the basic layout of each module? How it takes children from something as simple as counting to something as complex as long division. What's the process and flow for that?
I think some of you were asking this, especially Danish, like how can they learn odd and even before they have learned numbers and things like that. So you'll see how it scaffolds.
The ALfA program teaches numeracy swiftly and easily. Let's take a look inside the structure and flow of the numeracy book. The inside front cover shows a reminder of the key principles of the ALfA approach to numeracy, children working in pairs, using physical objects, and making connections with their everyday life. It also reminds that ALfA numeracy teaches skills that are important for children in any grade of primary school. Each module's name is an I can statement. For instance, I can write numbers 1 to 10. Each module has a pictorial representation of whatever activity the students will do, and prompts below explaining it. The teacher can help the children form pairs and read the prompts. Module 3 encourages children to learn and write a family member's mobile number. Module 4 introduces the concept of matchsticks as ones and ice cream sticks as tens, extending counting and writing numbers up to 20. Maths is about more than just numbers and operations. The ALfA numeracy books interweave many different concepts throughout, making strong connections with daily life. We then extend counting up to 100, including showing a number board. The idea of a clap as 10 and a snap as 1 is also introduced. Children become increasingly confident with recognizing and writing two-digit numbers, as well as representing them using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. The next modules teach single-digit addition and subtraction. Children solve the given problems using matchsticks and also in writing. They then make more questions for each other. We go on to addition and subtraction with two-digit numbers, again using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. The pictorial representation shows the concept of carrying in addition, that is, exchanging 10 matchsticks for one ice cream stick, and also borrowing in subtraction, that is, exchanging one ice cream stick for 10 matchsticks. The next page takes it all a step further, introducing hundreds and thousands. We then extend addition and subtraction to four-digit numbers. The same concepts of carrying and borrowing are used. Children solve the given problems and then make more questions for each other. The next modules teach multiplication as repeated addition. That is, 5 times 4 means adding 5 together 4 times. Children construct the times table themselves and start to remember them. The same concept of repeated addition also works for multiplying 2 by one-digit numbers, again using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. We teach division by grouping objects. Children represent a number, for instance 48, using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. They then divide it into equal piles, in this case 4 piles. Again, children make more questions for each other. ALfA also explains long division for large numbers. Children represent the problem using chits of paper, distribute the number into equal piles, and then take change, for example, exchanging a 100 chit for 10 tens chits when needed. We then introduce the calendar. Children ask each other questions about their birthdays and various festivals and holidays. They compare which months have how many days. Children also learn how to tell the time. They can spin the hand of a toy clock and ask each other what time it is. Further modules introduce money. Toy money is provided for children to play shopping games, which further builds confidence with number operations. The next modules focus on measurement. Children have fun using irregular measures like paces and handspan to measure the classroom and objects in it. One page focuses on length. First, centimeters and meters, with children measuring each other as if at a tailor's shop. Then kilometers, with a fun geography activity. The next modules introduce volume in liters and milliliters. Children bring bottles, glasses, and containers to do fun activities measuring water. Children also ask each other questions comparing the weights of different items and can even make their own weighing balance. ALfA also introduces fractions using pictorial representations and cutting or coloring pieces of paper. The next page has a number story. More than separate word problems, a number story involves children with multiple questions that build on each other. This story spans the different operations as well as concepts of weight, volume, and time. So you can see that with this simple book and a technique of hands-on paired learning, children can learn numeracy swiftly and easily thanks to ALfA.
Wow, great. So very interesting to see all the modules of the ALfA numeracy book and how that structure flows seamlessly, all the way from counting up to division and fractions and measurement, all sorts of great concepts covered there. And I know that the font size was small there, so you wouldn't have gotten the chance to really look at the prompts. But just to re-emphasize that each module has prompts, it has suggestions for activities to do, and then the kids take it so much further. You saw the basic structure is that there's 1 or 2 questions which are given, but then the kids make so many more questions for each other. So, Sunita, would you like to point out anything? Obviously, you're the genius behind this design. Any thoughts on this structure? And I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the chat box as well. Anything you noticed about the structure of these books, how they are laid out? So let's hear your thoughts as well.
Okay, firstly, the whole concept of modules. Each new module builds on the previous one. So again, known to unknown, as in language. We're doing the same here. Use of hands-on materials to learn by self. Multiple concepts on one half-page module. Like the very first module has the concept of 0, even and odd, built in along with learning 1 to 10. 1 to 10 is taught in another book, government book, 46 pages. because they have these abstract, flowers adding together or symbols or this or that and the other, but not hands-on as much, unfortunately. And yet 46 pages later, after they filled all those workbooks and so on, are the children really understanding numbers 1 to 10 or the concept of zero or even and odd? Chances are very little. So here with one half-page module, and that I think takes I don't recall exactly, but 7 or 8 weeks into the learning process, maybe longer. And here it is one sitting, maybe 2 sittings, 3 sittings, that the children are dwelling on that particular short module in a period, 1 period a day. Sometimes there's 2 periods a day, they cover it on the same day. And with that, they're getting true understanding of the concept. The idea of a module is that it's a visual that they understand. From instantly, they can tell what their task is, but also the teacher comes in to explain what their task is. This is where the prompts come to help the teacher, because teacher a priori may not know where to begin. And because this is new to a lot of them, and they've never had the time to put these things together for themselves. But what is really interesting is once they have used the prompts to explain tasks, they become very creative. And they come up with a lot of their own ideas, how to go beyond the page. And so page acts as a departure for their ideas. And not just their ideas, but for the children also. So children also take on the role of, oh, we can do it this way, we can do it that way. They bring different kinds of materials. And of course, in the process, develop the 6 C's, the creativity, for example, or critical thinking. Now, how does critical thinking happen on that half page? After they've done the activity related to the visual, they're supposed to create their own activities. That's creativity and critical thinking. And in addition to that, every module, practically every module, has a set of questions that again act as a point of departure. So there might be a word problem for a minute, or there might be a problem with blanks, like 75 plus 17, and the 7 has a box or something like that, and there's an answer below, or partial answer below. So it's like HOTS, higher order thinking skills, and they have to do those questions initially to start with what's given, like 3 or 4 questions only, or 1 question per type of question. So there might be 5 types of questions, there'll be 5 questions, but each one a different type. Now the children will make for each other a lot more of those kinds of questions. And therefore they will co-create their learning. And how are we cutting down on carbon? We don't need a workbook. Because in a workbook, you'll have limited number of questions. You'll have a certain type of questions. These kids are well ahead of the game. They're making many different types of questions. They are making many more questions. And they're filling more notebooks, which is what the parents want, and you're going to give it to them. So I think it's very unique, because half a page can do that. So the whole book of numeracy is not 150 pages, 100 pages, or 180 pages workbook, which is what government school children have at the moment. It is, and even the private schools. So if you add up a textbook and a workbook, it is often 300 plus pages for numeracy. You'll agree with me. Those who are in your schools, you will see that between workbook and textbook is about 300 pages. We are doing numeracy, instead of 300 pages, we are doing it in 28 pages. And not just that, the booklet is 28 pages. In addition to that, of course, you take out the covers, is actually more like 26 pages or even less. And then you're sharing that resource. So Tom and I would be working with one such 28-page booklet, not even a book. And with that booklet, we will be cutting the pages to half, if you like, because both of us are not carrying it home, it's sitting in the school. Then imagine that this is used by a next set of children in the classroom later on, because they shuffle them, let's say, because to use paper resources well and efficiently. So you're talking about 9 pages. Imagine, so in a way, the costs are going down, as well as carbon footprint is less. And there was one question I saw in the chat, that what happens, how do you use the online method, like we're teaching you online? How do you do online for the children? Actually, you'll be happy to know that except for the government schools, none of the schools are using any printed material, 0. If they have a digital screen, and even some of the states that have digital screens will only get the digital resource. And so you notice how the teaching is done, how the teachers are going to the interactive whiteboard, or the whiteboard, or even just a projector and screen, or even a television. And they're showing that module on the television. The children are seeing what is their task, then they get busy with each other. They're not even looking at the screen anymore. Or if they need to refer again, or what was that, they go back and look at it. So you don't need paper, 0 paper. That's why we can offer it to you and to the whole world, this whole program for free. because we want it everywhere. We want you to be attracted to it. We want you to try it out. 45 days, that's all. We're asking you to try it out for 45 days. Do some research. You know, have one of your sections of your school do it, another section not do it. Do a baseline in both the sections. And 45 days later, do a post-test in both the sections. That's what Samvita ma'am did in her school, right? She has grades 1 and 2 doing ALfA. And so they did a pre-test before 45 days, a post-test after 45 days, and they were able to check the data. And the data is pretty remarkable. She'll be sharing with you her data from pre and post-test and how that went towards the end of this session. So I want to say that many levels is disruptive, many levels transformative, including roles of the children, how they work with it, and how the teacher interacts with the children, the teacher roles, the transaction of learning from taught to taught rather than teacher to taught. Many levels, the differences are there. And it's working also for the 6 C's, for the climate, for world citizenship, peace, harmony. We'll be more harmonious if we are working with each other from, you know, the day we go to school, we start working with each other. So we learn harmony, we learn to love diversity and embrace diversity, because, you know, Tom happens to be from Australia. I can say, well, you know, I don't like these Australians, you know, Aussies. No, I don't like them. But I'll put up with him because we must coexist. You know, we're in the same workplace, we're working, studying together. So we'll put up with each other. But actually, it's not about that. It's about creating love for each other. It's creating that greater sentiment of connection to other human beings. And that will not happen with superficial treatment of 10% of the time, let's do think, pair, share. 10% of the time, let's do group work. That won't do it. It has to be the entire modality of learning. It has to be that. Teacher, instead of being active and children passive listeners and observers and doers, that it reverses the roles. So now the children are active and the teacher is passive, sitting in her chair and just thinking what next.
Absolutely, absolutely. Terrific stuff. And I really appreciate the excellent comments and questions that are coming in. This whole training format is a little bit experimental for us. The first time we are running training on YouTube, but I really appreciate how active you've been in the comments. So let's come to some of those and address them. Danish, thank you for the explanation. Working in pairs is superb. Fantastic. You're working on our own pedagogy, trying to provide free education to the underprivileged. Terrific. Hats off to you, Danish. And thank you so much for your great questions and great comments. I'm scrolling back up to see Farha Khan's question, which is really good. How do we take formative assessment for this? Do we take assessments after each module? That's a really good question. Maybe can I turn to Samvita ma'am regarding this? How does assessments work in this ALfA process?
Here, we have weekly assessments.
Okay.
The module is there. And as we already mentioned, that instant feedback is given in the classes only when the children are doing it. But weekly assessments are also planned. So every week they have assessments. And the marking here, we keep it even number out here. Just to look into that, the parents don't go into the marks much. Either they are 9 or they are 21 out of 9 marks or out of 21 marks. This idea also came from Dr. Sunita. And this is really proving very well with the children. Initially, we thought there'll be a lot of work for the teachers. But then, as the children are making their own questions, children are making the assessments, they are making the papers, so there is no load on the teacher at all. And secondly, now the correction parts comes. It's not the teachers who are correcting the assessments. Like the classwork, children are doing it, so are they correcting their own assessments.
Fantastic. That's terrific. So that's a really good point, that this is good news for the teacher, right? It's not that this is an additional responsibility, an additional load. Oh gosh, now I have to do more activities. No, it's actually less work for the teacher. The teacher is there in the corner. She's observing. She's watching the children flourish, but the kids are making questions for each other. The teacher no longer has a huge pile of homework, a huge pile of tests to mark, but rather kids are self-correcting, they're checking each other's work.
Yeah.
And I think we're just segueing into this video about the 6 C's coming up next. So that's a perfect segue, because it's this process of paired learning, this process of children interacting with each other, that's how they develop those 6 C skills,
Absolutely.
right? It's not, Sunita, it's not that I tell you be creative. That's not how you're going to get creative. Nah?
Or this month we are going to focus on let's say integrity.
No.
Or this week we are focusing on peacefulness. This week we're going to focus on X, Y, or Z. It's not like that. It is every single day, all the 6 C's.
Good morning, Anjanagar. Today we are here to understand how ALfA class will help children to be a better future ready citizens. So I have Ankita ma'am, Farah ma'am and Jaya ma'am here. So Farah ma'am, would you like to share your views?
Actually, in ALfA classes, we emphasize more on building of 6Cs. Now, what are these 6Cs? 6Cs are those skills which helps in the overall holistic development of the child, and hence it prepares the children themselves for future ready citizens.
Ma'am, please can you explain what are these 6Cs? Yes, surely. 6Cs, as the name suggests itself, it's 6 different skills of learning, like critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, citizenship, and character building.
He went and jumped on a box. This box is too hard, said, oh, Tommy. Oh, this box is too hard, said Tommy. Then Tommy saw another box. This box is too soft, said Tommy.
A good job, Farah ma'am. So what did you learn from here?
Thank you, Ankita ma'am, for helping me, and thank you for keeping up patience with me. The same word I was not able to read again and again, but you did not lose the patience. So thank you so much.
Good job.
So we have learned a virtue from this, a value from this.
What is that?
That is helpfulness.
Correct. And be patient.
Okay, since Ankita ma'am, you helped me, so I have something for you. I have prepared a badge for you.
Oh, wow.
And on it I have written, Helpful Ankita.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So children, did you understand that we have learned a virtue from today's class? That is helpfulness. Now, when you will work with your partners, you are also going to take care of them and help them. Understood?
Let's do some reading. Okay. I think we need different means of transporting. No problem. Another means of Should I help you again? Yes. It's transport. Thank you. Are also used to carry goods. Some common means of transport in the kits are. You did a great job. Thank you, Tammy. You are a very helpful boy. I have something for you. This is for you. I have made this for you.
Can you join all these sounds and guess the word?
I can try.
Absolutely.
J. E. T. Jet.
Jet. Absolutely right. Great. I was collaborating with you. We both were working together, right?
What is collaboration?
Collaboration when we work together for certain thing, for some task, right?
Like we did just now?
Yes.
I was faltering in reading and you helped me.
In case if I'm not able to read any word, then you are going to guide me. You're going to help me. That is called collaboration.
Okay. So collaboration means working together
as a team
and helping each other, so that if anyone is facing any problem, we can solve the problem of that person. That is collaboration.
So children, now you all are going to do in a similar way, right? If your partner is not able to understand anything, so we'll take that as an ownership and we'll guide that partner. So can we do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's get started.
What is the first picture? This is a what? What is the first sound of the picture? Yeah. No. See again the picture? Yeah. No, it will be verb. It is yam or it is van? Van. So it will be verb. Okay.
Today we are going to do an activity where you are going to read a chapter and ask the questions to your partner. In this way, you will be able to enhance your critical thinking.
Today we will read EVS Animals chapter, Animals Around Us. Okay. We see different types of animals around us. They are both big and small. They live on land, in water, or on trees. Now your turn. Animals like cat and horse live on land. Animals like dolphin and shark live in water. And animals like monkey and bats live on trees. Now from this page we will ask some questions. Okay, we see different types of animals around us or one type of animal? We always see different types of animals around us. Okay, now it's your turn. Okay. Should we take good care of our pets? Yes, we should take good care of our pets.
This will enhance your creativity and you will be able to understand how to use your waste materials.
Let's make the pattern board. Okay. It's right. Well done.
What is the connection between 6Cs and ALfA classes?
Actually, ma'am, I feel if a child is taught through ALfA process, he possesses all the skills which are needed for securing jobs in future and make him better citizens.
And also, Ankita ma'am, in ALfA classes, like they learn to work in pairs.
Yes.
They do random pairing. They take turns to ask questions. So they are responsible for their learning as well as the learning of their partner, right? So it helps them to converse better. They collaborate with each other, and they become more confident and responsible in the class. This is what I felt.
Wow, what a beautiful video. Incredible to see the way those kids are working in pairs and how that's really fostering those 6C skills. As Sunita was saying, it's not a lecture. It's not that this is creativity month, this is critical thinking week. It's not that there's a specific module about that, but rather it's really embedded in the very process. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts in the comments, in the chat. What's your experience? How do you teach the 6C skills? How do your kids learn about these crucial skills of the 21st century? And I'll turn first to Samvida ma'am to ask because you're there, much of this footage was from your campus. So how have you seen on the ground, what's the difference that it's making for your kids in terms of their collaboration, their communication, their character, their citizenship? How is it making a difference there?
Okay. Firstly, it's paired learning. So that itself says paired together, social skills, collaboration, helping each other, taking turns, courtesy manners, everything going into it. And also at the same time, they're reinforcing their own learning. So those critical thinking that we are talking about, that is happening out here. And sharing responsibilities here. You saw them making badges for one another, those adjectives written out there. So you are showing respect, love, kindness, all the virtues we talk about. Talking about character, we are talking about citizenship. We are talking about global citizenship. Then we are talking about the climate change, how it's coming. So it's all embedded. If you saw the modules here, when you went through the learning material, lot of things have connection to all the life examples, the life objects. And that is how the teachers are bringing it. The children are bringing it in their respective classes. And best part is the joy, the happiness that they're bringing to each other.
Absolutely, definitely.
This is what we want in the world. And then only we'll be able to say what a wonderful world it is.
Very true.
Starting with ALfA, so I'll again say ALfA is a gift to the world.
So beautifully said.
And the author is sitting right here with us, Dr. Sunita Gandhi.
So let's hear your thoughts. I want to keep having your comments in the chat box, please. How in your classroom, how are students learning the 6C skills, right? Obviously, this cannot be taught from a textbook, it cannot be taught from a lecture. So how can we inculcate these 6C skills in our students? Sunita, what are your thoughts? You saw that lovely footage of the kids affirming each other, making those little virtue badges, helpful Tanav. So what's your thought process of how to foster these 6C skills?
See, firstly, 6Cs are fundamental as we venture forth into the future. And these kids who are mere babes today, 6 years old, 7-year-olds in classes 1 and 2, very tiny. You've seen all the footage from grades 1 and 2. Most of it was grade 1. And these kids, 25 years later or 20 years later, will be looking for jobs. And they'll be possibly creating jobs. But they won't succeed if they don't have the 6C skills. And it's also about the qualities, human qualities, like these 6Cs are very rare. And therefore, they command a higher, there's a bigger demand for them. And I think that they will be more successful, but also they will feel their inner peace a lot more. They'll be creating a harmonious world. When we know how to collaborate with each other, we are able to create that possibility in the world. A school should be an ideal form of society. And so in the school, you should be able to see children collaborating, communicating, talking to each other nicely with manners, with congratulations, with thank you, well done, all the daily affirmation Tom and I would give each other if we were in the same class. But of course, I'd not be with him every single time. I'll be with Joanne sometimes. I'll be with Sumita sometimes. I'll be with Samvita sometimes. I'll be with Sammy sometimes. I'll be with Neelam sometimes. And I'm practicing that virtue every single day. It becomes part of my life. It's from ground zero. We're not waiting till they get older. And their confidence absolutely skyrockets. And confidence is what is needed to succeed. You don't have to be very smart. In fact, kids who do very well in life often are not the ones who got the biggest marks or the best marks, but those who had the most confidence. And they had the skill to learn and relearn and unlearn. And that is what we are teaching them as well. So I think 6Cs are germane, they're the fundamentals. And I'd say at the margin, it's more important that they have the 6Cs than they have all the mathematics in the world. They'll get the mathematics and they'll get the 6Cs. We're not in a hurry because the process is so powerful that it actually makes them learn a lot faster. So we can slow down on those things and give them priority. It's not important that, I'm learning the whole book in 1 week now. Of course, many kids do that too, by the way. And, they just, if they get the book, they want to do it. They're so excited and they learn the next and the next and the rest. They can build on, scaffold it on their own because it's known to unknown. And that's also too, not a problem. They can co-teach, they can help each other. We're not stopping them. We're not putting them into a straitjacket of any sort.
Absolutely. Wow. And I'm thinking, as you're speaking, I'm thinking of education policies in the US, where, as I recall, some years ago, they had this policy of leave no child behind, possibly, right?
Yes.
And the focus was on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And of course, we are totally for reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's what the whole program is about, right? But the problem with that premise, the premise there was, let's strip away all the fun stuff, right? And let's just get back to the basics. Let's just drill the kids with those times tables, with the alphabet. Let's drill them until they get that foundational literacy numeracy. But we have a very different approach to achieving that FLN. We don't view it as, okay, first you need to become literate and then you can achieve the 6C skills. Rather, in the very process of becoming literate and numerate, that's how you can develop those 6C skills.
It should be natural. It should be natural. It should be every day. It should be all the time. It's how we relate to each other in the family. We don't say, oh, now we're going to do X today and Y tomorrow. We do those same things every day, but we do them in a special way.
Absolutely.
And I think that special way is the ALfA way. And ALfA way, of course, we want it not just for pre-primary, primary. We want it as a way of life for university education also. And you'll see tremendous benefits of that process.
That's right. I'm seeing there's a few questions coming in the comments on this very line. Mutior is saying, can ALfA be implemented for middle school too? Someone else asked, does it have to be age specific? So we've seen already from some Vidya ma'am's school footage that really young kids are using this, right? 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds are using it. But yes, in the government schools, we've also seen it being used by grade 4 children, grade 5 children, and definitely the same process, right? The same process of paired learning, of interaction, it can be used for any age and for any grade. So it's quite versatile, quite flexible. So this is a terrific discussion. Thank you so much for your incredible activity in the chat. We're really enjoying hearing your thoughts and questions. And I know it's been a lot to process. We've done some activities together. We've seen some incredible classroom footage. We've had discussion. I think it's time for a very brief mental break by doing a little bit of exercise, right? So we've been already very active in our minds. Now let's get active in our bodies. We'll do a little bit of exercise, then we'll be coming back for the final hour of this session, in which we'll be just talking a little more about feedback, how to take feedback from the classroom. There's been some good questions on that. We'll also be doing a quiz with you, and we'll be sharing the links for the e-learning materials. So first, let's go. Let's have some exercise. So I think we are ready for the exercise video. So let's play the exercise video. We can all stand up wherever you are. Wherever you are, we're going to have some fun, do some exercise together.
Let's discover, let's explore your creation and so much more. It's exciting, can't wait to see what you have in store. Surrounded by waves of your mystery, Lord, show me what you want me to be. Let's go deep, 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 deep as the ocean blue. Deep, 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 deep in my faith with you. Deep, 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 deep in my heart I see your love is endlessly deeper than the sea. Let's dive deep in our faith. Let's dive deep in our walk. Let's dive deep in our trust. Let's dive deep in our talk. Let's dive deep in your word. Let's dive deep in your ways. Let's dive deep in your love. Let's dive deep every day. Let's go deep, 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 deep as the blue. Deep, 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 deep in my faith with you. Deep, 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 deep in my heart I see your love is endlessly deeper than the sea. Let's go
Wow. That's the first time I've danced in front of an online audience. I feel a little bit embarrassed, but I'm glad that you're all dancing with us. And definitely, we're talking about active learning. Active learning means not just active in the mind, but active in the body as well. Exercise is so important to well-being, so important to the learning process.
You mentioned the quiz.
So as we move forwards into the final part of our training today, we'll be wrapping up in a while with a quiz. So please do stick around for that, right? It's a fun, interactive online quiz. And Quizzes, our partner in bringing that quiz to you, has also generously offered a 3-month subscription for free for any teachers who are participating in this training. So it's a really terrific online resource. So I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And thank you so much to Quizzes for making that offer for all participants. Several questions in the chat were on this very topic of online education and how to interact with students online. We found that Quizzes is a really fun and effective tool for that. So yes, this is Farha. That's right. Zoom's paid version is very expensive. So that's exactly right. So Quizzes is one fun way which they are offering now for free. And Zoom, yeah, that's true. So I think Zoom is also a good platform. Like you say, it can be expensive if you're taking the paid version, but there's also many other platforms out there. Maybe our team will be sharing some of the platforms we use. I know we've used Google Classroom sometimes, Google Meet, various different things. So moving forwards, I would like to move on to my PowerPoint, in which we just want to share briefly with you what the role of the teacher is in the ALfA classroom. So as we look at this PowerPoint, I want you to keep in mind that in the ALfA classroom, the students, we've been looking a lot at what the role of the students is, right? We've been considering that students are sitting in pairs, they're working with each other, right? But what is the teacher doing in this process? Where is the teacher? And what roles does the teacher have? So let's consider that next. So Sunita uses this term of, okay, yeah, perfect. So even before we talk about the roles of the teacher, we wanted to just share this brief slide with you to talk about the outcomes of ALfA so far, right? So we've been implementing this in some government schools. We've been implementing it in City Montessori School, Lucknow. The Maldives has also taken this up. So it's an experimental approach, quite new, but already some of the results are starting to come in. It's pretty impressive. So Sunita, would you like to speak briefly to what the results are from ALfA?
Okay, so the results are very compelling on both quantitative and qualitative terms. The narrative for the program starting in Shamli in Uttar Pradesh, we have gone from 20 schools in Uttar Pradesh in one district to 3,000 schools in Uttar Pradesh in 15 districts. And that's within 5 months. So that's one quantitative data that I can share with you. It's gone pretty fast. And I just got a message from yesterday from the DM of Shamli, who's now shifted to another place, and very grateful to her that she is considering also now doing it in her district. So it is going to roll on because it's effective. We've also experimented with the idea of not being present in those places. So we are not present in Shamli, we are not present in Sambalpur. And we wanted to see if it works like a catalyst. Does it grow on its own? Similarly with our training, I mean, pretty crazy to think that you can do effective training online. And you will tell us, because in the quiz, that's one of the questions. But here also you can comment, has it been effective for you? Can you really actually learn this way? Do you think this is better? Because, we can't go to every nook and corner of the country. And nor do we have the time and the patience or to make it a 5-year process to reach you. So better it is, and it's also costs and all that. Here it's free, it's cheap, and we can get masses. So similarly, we wanted not to be present in these places because it costs a lot of money to have your staff there. And see if it really works on its own. And really, actually, we are very, very happy to report to you that it has worked flawlessly in that context, much better than our expectations, where teachers took it up and then it multiplied. Like some teacher will take it up, then other teachers will take it up in the same school, then some other teachers will hear about it, they'll take it up. So it is actually propagating on its own. Another quantitative data for us is this report by students of Harvard University's Graduate School of Education. This report has just come out on March 3rd. It's on Amazon. It's called Rebuilding Resilient Education Systems After the COVID-19 Pandemic. And in this, Chapter 8 and Chapter 10 both report on ALfA. One of them talks about ALfA in the UP context, and one of them talks about ALfA in the Maldives context. So very early on, we're getting a lot of attention. We're getting a lot of reports. We've also done some analyses, and the RCT data shows, that's called the randomized control trial, where we select random schools and we do pre-test, post-test, and then we measure the difference in difference and calculate what's called effect size. And the effect size shows how important it has been for those children. How much of a difference did it make for those children who took ALfA versus those children in the control group who did not take ALfA? So my sister, who's an economist, Professor Geeta Kingdon, she says if it is 0.1 effect size, it's worth your money. So we got 0.23 for grade 3 and a whopping 0.89 for grade 5. So it is having a phenomenal impact. These are early results. We'll continue to do RCTs. We are setting up research design in every place. We want you who are going to try it out after this to make a research design. Like one class does it, it's only 45 days or even 30 days. If you're just focusing on reading, it's just 30 days. 30 days, one period, you're just going to focus on reading for a minute, let's say, and another class will not. You do a pre-test of language before and post-test afterwards and compare the data. And this is the kind of data that Samvita ji is going to share with you. And this is the kind of data they've reported on. The narrative, the interviews, the looking into it has been done by these 8 students of Harvard University's Graduate School of Education.
4 studied Maldives and 4 studied our UP Shamli project.
So that's really terrific and very good. Of course, we've seen many videos and we've been very impressed by the video footage. That's the qualitative data we're talking about, but obviously we need the quantitative data as well. Ma'am, you've been implementing it for a few months in your school. Would you like to share anything of your implementation results?
Yes. Ma'am, can you share the WhatsApp?
Yes, okay.
Just while you're looking at that, I want to share also briefly that in our slum, we've been using these materials, not the ALfA materials exactly, but the predecessor to the ALfA materials. We've been using them for a few years, and the results have been pretty tremendous with that as well. Kids who in their regular schooling, they're up to grade 5, they're up to grade 6, and they're only recognizing a few letters, struggling with 2-letter words. These kids who their parents even will tell them, you'll not be able to learn to read. We've seen those kids using this program to learn to read very swiftly in a matter of 2 or 3 months. So it's pretty incredible stuff. So ma'am, your experience from your campus.
Right. Firstly, I would like to point out here, this is a 45 days challenge, but my campus got a little short of 7 days less out here. And at the time of initiating it, we had a baseline test. And during that baseline test, the duration that the children took was approximately 5 days for all my 6 sections of classes 1 and 2, which included both ALfA and non-ALfA classes. Then we had approximately 39 days of teaching of ALfA, taking the working days. And then towards the end, we took an N-line test. So the N-line test duration was only 2 days, all 6 sections. And that was amazing, incredible. Even it was a big surprise for my teachers who were conducting in the ALfA classes. Now, this is for the ALfA classes. They completed in 2 days. Non-ALfA classes took much more time, almost similar to what they took for the baseline. Now, if I share the result, if you see in English, class 1 was up by 20%. English class 1. Maths, they were up by 22.73%. And in Hindi, they were up by 28.16%. This is the data which we had shared with Dr. Sunita Gandhi, and she has done her case study. Very shortly, we'll be sharing with you all also.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. In a matter of just barely more than a month. That's 38 days
39 days.
39 days.
To
that's
count exactly.
Pretty incredible.
And these are percentage points, not percentage. Percentage points are like, if they had a base of, like, for example, I'm looking at control group had a base in English of 45 percentage points. At the end of 39 days, it went up to 65. It grew by 20 points. So if you calculate the percentage improvement, that's much, much more.
Sure. Wow. Very impressive. So now, we've seen some of the evidence of the results. We've looked at the qualitative evidence. We've looked at the quantitative evidence. So I'm seeing there's also good questions coming in the chat box. So let's address those, and then we'll also move on to discuss what the role of the teacher is in the classroom. So yeah, Farha is saying, then this clicks my mind on a question that how do we maintain the students' interest? Is it? Yeah. How do we maintain the students' interest? So yeah, that's a really good point. So I think in ALfA, one of the best things, right, is that it's a generative process. So we've seen that with some of these activities that we've done with you already today, where it's not just there's some questions provided in the textbook and that's the end of it, right? The prompts in the ALfA book are a starting point, they're not the finishing point. So the students may start by doing 2-digit numbers, and then they themselves can go on to 3-digit, 4-digit numbers. They might start by doing simple multiplication problems. They'll move on themselves to much larger ones. So it's not the end point. The textbook, the ALfA materials are not the end point. They're actually the starting point for a creative process. So looking then at the role of the teacher, Sunita, you often talk about the teacher as a galvanizer. I just want to show a slide on screen here, please, for what we mean by this. So maybe you can use it in your own words, because galvanize is a bit of a fancy word. So we've seen that, okay, the students they're working in pairs, but what is the teacher's role in this process? What do you mean by the teacher being a galvanizer?
Okay, so we were struggling with what word to use. English doesn't have so many choices on this particular concept. And the best would be a facilitator, a guide, a mentor, a coach. And I felt that none of them were really explaining this concept of a galvanizer, that we thought this might be a better term. Because basically you're galvanizing the class. You're not facilitating. The moment you're facilitating or you're guiding, you're actually interfering with the process of self-learning. You're not supposed to facilitate, right? So you galvanize the class, you tell them what their task is, you make sure they understand their task very well. This is a skill that teacher needs to have. And you make sure that the environment is created for learning, that they have the materials that they need, they bring those materials from home, they know what materials to bring next. You're using the idea of positive reinforcement that Tom shared so beautifully about the language of encouragement, not praise, not reprimand. We are following ALfA Cohn's research also there. Punished by rewards. We don't want to give them rewards. They should know why or why not we do these things. The teacher to be very patient, not be an expert, but to be not even a guide by the side, by the way, because a guide by the side is sitting there for children to come to her, and then you can guide them. We don't want that. We want children to help each other. And really, in the purest sense, where teachers have done all of that, the results have been more remarkable than where teachers have actually been more available to the children. Because then children keep looking for them. They keep wanting their help from them. So we need to shed that habit, and we need to have them rely upon themselves, because in life also, they'll have to rely upon themselves. They'll have to co-create learning. They'll have to, with their peers, they'll have to be resourceful. They'll have to think, how to overcome some difficulties they might come along the way, things they don't understand, how to overcome those difficulties, how to negotiate, how to work with each other. And the teachers are really setting those standards, making the standards clear. For example, how to write an essay. The teacher will make sure that the children know what a good essay looks like. And then that's like a model. She models it. And she shares with the framework, the outline, the rubric, if you like, and then leaves them alone to go work with it. They make their own rubric, the children. So as they get older, they get to all sorts of fun things. So we do show and tell, for example. Now, show and tell on its own, it's fine. But show and tell with rubric, where they know, okay, what am I being evaluated against? It's 2 marks or 2 points for, let's say, eye contact, 2 points for body language, voice intonation, and so forth. So they're okay, I'm being measured on 3 counts, or even 1 count when they're very little, just eye contact for a minute. And so standard must be known. Teachers create those standards. They raise those standards. They don't expect the old. They change their own belief systems. They negotiate in a different way with the children, and they don't interfere with the learning. These are all new skills of a galvanizer.
Wow, very powerful. And yeah, it's a tricky word, but I think it's worth understanding, worth unpacking, as you have done beautifully there. That the teacher's role is really quite different, right? The traditional teacher, the role is to lecture, right? To deliver the textbook. In the traditional conception of education, the child, their brain is just an empty box. The teacher's job is to fill information into the box, right? But we're moving a long, long way away from that in ALfA, right? That's not how learning takes place. Our brain is not an empty box to be stuffed with facts. Rather, the teacher's role is to galvanize the process, to pair up the kids, right? To let them go for it, to help organize the materials, to help construct the right social environment that's conducive to learning. And in fact, as we talk about the social environment conducive to learning, that brings us to our next point, which is this distinction you already made, Sunita, between praise and encouragement. So this is a very interesting point, right? We often think, okay, let's praise our kids, let's give them a reward, let's give them a gold star, let's praise them, right? But sometimes this can be counterproductive, right? ALfA Kohn, this renowned American educationist, he's pointed out that giving praise can undermine intrinsic motivation, right? For example, in my childhood, my teacher used to sometimes praise me, you're a good boy, you're a smart boy, but that would actually lead me to work less hard, because I felt like, okay, I don't need to work harder, right? And I'm not motivated so much by the love of learning itself, but rather I'm motivated by the praise that my teacher is giving me. So let's consider what, instead of praise, what's an alternative? What's a language of encouragement instead of praise? Now, of course, we need to move beyond reprimand as well. Right? This would also happen to me in my schooling, that my teacher would tell me, oh, your handwriting is awful, unfortunately, and it's true, I admit it. But supposing, Samvina ma'am, you're a teacher, instead of supposing a child comes to you and the handwriting is really illegible, right? Instead of saying your handwriting is awful, what's a more constructive way that you could give feedback?
Okay. Oh, maybe I could say, I appreciate your effort.
Okay.
Let's see which part of the writing you like the most.
Mm-hmm.
And what better is it possible for you to do?
Right, fantastic. So not so much looking at the actual handwriting itself, but more the process and the progress.
Exactly. And not being very general in my remarks or my appreciation to the child, like very good, very nice, excellent. These are very generalized remarks.
Right, right. Okay, so being specific, looking at, okay, at least you're making a good effort. So focusing on the effort, not necessarily on the result per se.
Absolutely.
Right, fantastic. And yeah, so that's the example we gave here. Yeah, this is much better than last time. Keep up your efforts on improvement, focusing on the progress,
yes,
not the marks.
See, what I also feel is that the children should have the standard. They should know what good handwriting looks like. So have you prepared them enough? Are they ready to take on the next challenge on their own? You can't reprimand till you have taught them well. Teach them so well that there's no need to reprimand. There's no reason to say you're not doing well. In fact, who are we? We should not be judges.
Definitely.
Because child's potential is enormous. By saying any negative thing, and the children's hearts are so tender, they tend to believe both the positive and the negative. So why don't you say the positive?
Absolutely.
And if I can't do something today, for example, let's say mathematics example, 42 multiplied by 12, I add them up, or I kind of forget to do place value. I put the second set of numbers right below the first set of numbers. I multiply, but I'm not putting them in the right place values. And I add them up. I get a wrong answer. How long does it take to fix that?
Not long.
Not long at all. And yet we say, oh, you didn't do it and you got your marks less and this and that and the other. I think we should be focusing on learning rather than on reprimanding or pointing out mistakes. We should not be looking at the glass half empty. We should be looking at the glass half full. What do you know? And then propel them forward with that encouragement, not praise. So encouragement is not about external view of things. It's about creating the internal, against the standard, did I do well or not?
Absolutely.
I should know from within me that, yes, I see that's the way you write a C, or that's the way you do numbers 45 plus 92, whatever it might be, and I didn't get it right. Let me try again. And this is also actually very, very beautiful process of Dr. Maria Montessori. She calls it the control of error. And I think the world has not used that idea very well at all. We're using it in ALfA, the control of error. So what is the control of error? You're my control of error. You're seeing a mistake, you're telling me, right?
Absolutely.
That has not been tried out as much. I mean, there is some of it, but not as much as it needs to be. The idea of control of error in the sense that little children, and these are like 2 years, 2.5-year-old in a Montessori class, and they're playing with the spindle box. And spindle box has these hollows of a tray, in which there's written 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 9. And there are exactly 45 spindles in a basket. Spindles or pencils or anything at all, 45 of them. So the teacher, it's a 3-part lesson, the teacher shows what to do. So she'll take one of these, say ice cream sticks in that case, and puts it in 0 means nothing, 1 here, she counts 2 and puts in 2, counts 3 and puts in 3, and when she's finished, there should be none left in the basket. Now, if for any reason 1 is left, you say, oh, where did I get it wrong? You go and do each one of them again till you say, 7, I only put 6. So, this is where the 7 goes. And then she leaves the child to show it to her. That's the second part lesson. Third part is the child does it independently. So this idea of control of error is very necessary. You give me a chance to correct myself. I can do it. Trust the child. And I think this is where we have
Really
the battle
good.
still there, because we don't trust the children.
Yeah.
Trust is key.
Yeah.
Belief in the child's potential is
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
Endorsing them that you are capable, you can do any math sum. You can, can I say to you, Tom, can you build a building? Right? You'll say, no, I don't. But you scaffold it in smaller steps.
Right.
And you can build a building.
Sure.
It's the way we pose the equation. It's the
Sure.
way we teach.
Sure.
It's the way we allow you to think you're capable, you're possible.
Breaking it up into simple steps. And that's the power of this ALfA
That's the
methodology.
power
It's
of
the power
it.
of these modules, right? It's
Short
taking,
modules.
going from simple to complex, step by step.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and known to unknown.
Known to unknown, yeah. So I see there's lots of good comments, there's lots of good questions coming in. We're going to be addressing many of them, and I'll ask the teachers who are with me as well to be active in the chat and keep addressing those questions. Let me do one activity with you as well in the chat. So we're talking about this distinction between praise and encouragement. Maybe it's a little subtle distinction, but let's do this activity. So supposing I as a teacher say, congratulations, you came first in the class, right? This is a form of praise, and it's not very helpful Because it's motivating one child, it's demotivating the others, and it's creating a sense of competition between the children. So supposing you're a teacher, you want to encourage a child, can you rephrase this or say something else? Instead of congratulations, you came first in the class, I want to hear in the chat box, how would you say something to encourage your child instead of praising them? How do you say something which is encouraging all children and not just some? So while we're waiting for your thoughts to come in the chat, how you rephrase that, let me turn to Samvida, ma'am, who's obviously long experience of teaching. How do you go about this? How do you encourage all children and not just some?
Okay, maybe you can go, congratulations. I appreciate the effort of each one of you. And I know you all can do it.
Yeah, I know you can all do it. Yeah, that's right. So it's building that sense of collaboration, right?
Yeah, so that they all know that I am capable of and I can accomplish it. Something like that.
Fantastic. Yep. So they all feel capable. They all feel, yep. We're seeing some comments are coming in. You've really improved. Keep up the good work. That's excellent, because it's focusing on the effort. It's focusing on the work, not on the result. Yep. Keep offering your suggestions. Sunita, would you like to say something here? How would you, instead of focusing on, colors in the class, what would be a more constructive, positive feedback to give a child?
We should avoid all kind of comparison with anybody else, because each child is unique, like each flower is different in a garden. We can't say, oh, this one's better, that one's not better, because look how perfect these leaves are, these are not. Our variety, our diversity makes us very, very special. Each child is special. And I think that we should go away from these old ethics of first, second, third, ranking in all forms has to go. So a child who is not ranking top, let's say, in a class there'll be, let's say, 1 or 2 children who will be topping, or 3 children who will be topping, or they'll be in the top 1/3 of a class. What about the 2/3 of a class that cannot accomplish the same level, at least in the old way of testing, which is written papers and all the pressures that come along with it, and you're not preparing children enough, and yet you're testing. There's so many ills, and yet we live with that craziness. So if they're not getting the best mark, very early on, these children get labeled. I'm not good enough. I can't do math. I cannot do this or that. Well, they should be saying, I can do anything.
Absolutely.
I'm capable. I can just teach me the right way. Absolutely. Give me the support.
Yeah.
Let me work with my peer. We'll figure it out by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Make children feel they're capable, and that's far more gain for society as a whole, for the individual. And we have to move away from these comparisons, which are very harsh and hard on the child.
Definitely. I'm seeing some excellent comments are coming in, some ways that you are rephrasing it. Yeah, dear students, I really appreciate your good work. I believe every child is smart and intelligent in your own way. Absolutely. Yep. Lots more excellent suggestions are coming in. I'm just showing, I love how much effort you're putting into your studies. Congratulations, all of you have done well. Yeah. So it's focusing more on the effort, right? And it's saying something that's encouraging for everybody, not just for some. These are some of the rubrics, some of the metrics which we should keep in mind as we're making this distinction between encouragement and praise. And it's a slightly subtle distinction, but hopefully this helps flesh it out. So one question is, does my statement encourage all children, not just some? So if you're saying just you're the best in the class, that's encouraging for the person you said it to, but it's quite discouraging and disempowering for everybody else. So much better to say something like, good to see you working so nicely together. Something that's helpful for all of the children, not just for some. Another good point is, does it actually lead to more effort? I remember in schooling, in my own schooling days, the teacher would sometimes just say, good boy, smart boy, these sorts of things, which to be honest made me a little bit lazy, because I was like, okay, I'm scoring good marks. I don't need to work hard. So instead, a much better way to put it would be, well, what can you do next? Terrific, that's great. I'm excited to see what you can do next. Right? Say something that will lead to more effort, not less. And finally, is it specific enough to be useful? Right? If you just get an A+, right, but you don't know what you did well, that's not very helpful. Right? Imagine if you fail, you get a C-, or you get an F, right? And you don't know what you did wrong. It's not helpful feedback. Supposing I go to a doctor and the doctor just gives me D for my blood test. Now, if I don't know whether my hemoglobin is low or whether my blood sugar is high, whether my calcium, if I don't know what the issue is, I can't fix it, right? But that's the problem with our exams, is very often we just give them an average grade, right? Rather than breaking it down into the detailed specifics. So it's much more important to give specific feedback to our students.
Yes, that's correct. And better it is that I'm getting feedback every day, ongoing basis, with my peer,
much better than if I'm
Absolutely.
waiting for a half-yearly exam or a weekly test or anything, because you want correction immediately. And this is what John Hattie's meta-analysis of education research also shows, that instant feedback has to be followed by immediate corrective action. So Tom looks at my thing and says, hey, Sunita, you got that wrong. So, oh, did I? Oh, yes, I spelled it wrong. Let me check the dictionary. We both check the dictionary. And we say, yeah, of course. So here's instant corrective action. It's not just instant identification of the problem, it's also instant correction of the problem. I just want to take a minute and talk about two people that have influenced my thinking. One is Rita Pearson. I don't know, some of you may have heard her TED Talk, Rita Pearson, a teacher from the US, whose children, so many of her students showed up when she passed away. And she gave this TED Talk a couple of years prior to her passing away. And she never, ever gave her children anything but a smiley. If they got 2 out of 20, and she shows that in her TED Talk, she put a smiley next to this child. She took these inner city school children from very, very difficult backgrounds, poor backgrounds and so on, economically poor, then a lot of family problems. Nevertheless, she took these children on and made them into excellent human beings and accomplished human beings. And so I'm getting hair-raising experience just now as I talk about Rita Pearson. Do look her up on TED Talks. And she talked about, for example, she showed that this child got 2 out of 20. And she put a big smiley saying, well done. So this young chap walked up to her, very awkward, person, young fellow. And he said, ma'am, did you do that by mistake? She said, no, I meant that. You did very well. You got 2 out of 20. You got 2 correct. Celebrate that. This is the way we need to build the courage of the child. These kids came out so strong later on. The second person I want to mention who's really influenced my thinking is, of course, and you all probably know her, is Carol S. Dweck. She is the author of a book called Mindset. It has revolutionized the way we think about mindset. There are 2 kinds of mindset, she says. One is fixed mindset, and that is fixed mindset even about ability and other things. And the other is a growth mindset. And we want children to have a growth mindset. Our system is all misaligned. It's all about fixed mindsets. You're good in this, you're not good in that. Imagine those poor kids, they're not good at anything. They're not topping in sports, they're not topping in music, they're not topping in, this or that or the other, and they're not topping in academics. Where should they go? They have to still stay on planet Earth. And they have to make a success of their lives. They can be good human beings. They can be good members of a family. They can be good members of their community. They can create a far better world had they felt good about themselves and then gone out and ventured forward out of their own insecurities into the real world.
Absolutely. Wow. Those are 2 really inspirational authors and inspirational educationists. Fascinating to hear. I know that you are an inspiration for many of us who are watching and many of us who are here as well. So it's great to hear where you get your inspiration from as well. So we've been talking a little bit about feedback. We've been discussing how we give feedback to our students, how we give constructive, useful, positive feedback, not just meaningless praise, but how we give encouragement. But equally important, I would say, I'm sure you'd agree, that it's getting feedback from our students, right? So in the ALfA process, the teacher is there, right? She's quietly observing in the corner, but she definitely needs to get feedback about how her students are doing. So if I just pull up that slide for you, please, how the feedback process works, how we can take feedback from our whole class. Because as Sunita was sharing, very often in the traditional approach, the main method is to take feedback through exams or through asking a question, and we'll just see a show of hands, right? But that's not very effective because it's not getting feedback from the whole class. So if I just pull up my PowerPoint, please, and we'll look at this slide, considering the importance of feedback. So if we don't have feedback as a teacher, we're a bit like a pilot who's flying blind, right? I've tried this. I'm not a pilot. I'm a cyclist, but I've tried this occasionally. I've tried risking it on a quiet stretch of road. I tried shutting my eyes and keeping on riding, and it's very scary, right? But as teachers, if we're not getting quick feedback from our class, then we're a bit like that. We're groping in the dark. We're not sure what they're picking up, what they're not picking up. So we really need feedback in order to ensure that students, we know how much the students are learning, which parts they're understanding, which parts they're not understanding, how many students have learned, how many haven't learned, and who is understanding, who's not. So we want instant feedback, not delayed feedback. An exam obviously is very delayed feedback, right? We're getting feedback, but it's 1 month after the fact, and by then it's too late to take constructive action. So how can we take instant feedback? Well, we're about to show an example for you, but the process is very simple, right? We can just ask some questions of the class, ask a question, and we'll give them some options. It can be a simple multiple choice question. So we'll say, okay, this is option A, option B, option C. Everybody who thinks option A, you can raise your hand, right? Hands down. Everybody who thinks option B, you can raise your hand, right? Well, there's n number of ways to do it. The students could write the answer in big font on a slate, and everybody shows it at once. N number of ways to do it. And then once you've got that information about who is understood, who is not, then you can take it forward and you can take action. So for example, if everyone is already familiar with that concept, then you can feel free to move on to the next modules, right? You know with confidence that yes, it's good to progress. If just a couple of kids are still struggling with it, then you could make fresh pairs, right? We were talking about this earlier, this process of always repairing, making new pairs, right? Supposing I was sitting with Samvida ma'am, and Samvida ma'am was not able to understand from me, right? I was not explaining very well, but maybe she'll sit with Sunita and she'll understand better, right? So that's process of making fresh pairs. On the other hand, if the majority of the class is really clueless and they have not got the concept, then maybe you need to teach the same concept using a different way. So we've already seen an example of that in terms of tens and ones and place value, right? You'll recall earlier we were doing the clapping and snapping activity, which is one way to communicate about tens and ones, a kinesthetic approach. We've also been using ice cream sticks and matchsticks, right? So we can use this variety of approach. If one approach is not working well, from the feedback we see that many kids are still struggling, then we can use a different approach, right? And hopefully, surely that will be more effective. So how does this process of instant feedback look? I'm about to give you a demonstration, right? So in the chat box, can you please respond to this question? What is the world's deepest lake? Okay, the world's deepest lake is, okay, there are three options here: Lake Superior, which is in North America, Lake Baikal, right, which is in Russia, and Lake Victoria, which is in Africa. Now, a few of you were here in the morning session. You really have no excuse for getting this wrong. Everybody else for whom this is fresh, please don't Google it, right? It's not about the question. It's not about getting the right answer. It's just about this process of taking feedback. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the chat box. Please keep posting it. What do you think? Option 1, Lake Superior. Option 2, Lake Baikal. Or option 3, Lake Victoria. And you can see that I'll be able to get instant feedback. Now, this is just a silly trivia, random trivia geography question, right? It's not really content related, but I'll be able to get feedback. Supposing you're my class, my geography class, I'll get feedback on how many of you have understood this topic. And I'm seeing, okay, lots of people are saying 2, okay, and it looks like, okay, somebody's saying 1, that's Lake Superior. Okay, answers are coming in, great. So you can see through this process, right? Now, in a classroom, obviously, it would not be in chat box, right? In a classroom, it would be either a show of hands, or sometimes in the classes, they have a green and a red paper, or some different colors of paper. So you could say, okay, if you think this option, then show your green paper. If you think this option, show your red paper, so forth. So there's n number of ways you can do it. And the key point is it's instant feedback, right? I get to know immediately, and it's the whole class. Whereas if I'm just asking, okay, show of hands, who knows what is the world's deepest lake? Then a few kids will probably put their hand up, and I'll select one of them, but then I don't know what the process is. I don't know whether the other kids have understood or not. So, okay, most of you are saying number 2, Lake Baikal. A few are saying Lake 1, and congratulations. In this case, in this rare case, the majority is right, right? So it is indeed Lake Baikal. Here's a picture of it, 1,620 meters deep at its deepest point. That is a seriously deep freshwater lake. But the main point here is not about Lake Baikal. The main point is that's a quick and easy process of getting instant feedback from the whole class, right? Not just from a few students, but from the whole class. So it looks like we are now moving towards the end of our session. I think we're going to skip this video. Possibly, I think we'll skip this video also, right? Because we want to have time for the quiz, right? The quiz is really important. Before we go to the quiz, though, let's have a very quick recap. So we've already seen a lot of classroom footage, we've seen a lot of videos, had a lot of discussion and interaction, but here are 5 key takeaway points, right? If you forget everything else, right, forget that Lake Baikal was the deepest lake, I don't mind at all, right? But if you remember 5 things from today's session, please may it be these 5. So Samvita ma'am, can we maybe take turns to flesh out 1 point each?
Okay. Children work in pairs, random.
So why is this important?
This is important because it's all about paired learning. It's about helping each other. It's all about giving each other time and giving space. And also it's random, so integrating the 6 C's into it, social skills, collaboration.
This is a good point you've picked up on, this random pairing, right? Like we were discussing earlier, we don't want to label students as strong or weak, right? I don't want to be like, okay, I'm the dunce of the class, so hence I have to sit with another dunce, right? Or vice versa. I don't want to deliberately pair weak and strong, right? We want to move beyond those labels, and random pairing is one way to do that. As we saw in those videos earlier, they're using these ice cream sticks, they're writing their names on that. All there's many other ways that you can use for random pairing. A second point, if we come to this, so teachers don't teach, but instead they're using prompts to guide the children. The prompts are provided in the learning materials. They're a starting point, not the finishing point. The kids are then making many more questions for each other. So I think this is crucial because the materials are there. They provide those prompts. It's a very helpful guide, but the teacher is not there to teach the concept. The teacher is there to show the process, right? The kids learn the concept themselves. I see the third point is about normalization. Sunita, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, see, normalization is about teaching a whole new way of interacting between children and teacher and children. So it's a new normal. We talk about the new normal in terms of adjusting to the COVID. Well, I mean, we are giving a shock treatment here with ALfA also to what happens in a classroom. And this poor teacher who loves to tell everybody what to do has to suddenly sink into her corner. This lovely teacher who wants to really help the children out say, no, don't help them. You're helping them more if you're not helping them. This is a new normal for the teacher. There are a lot of new normals for the teacher. When we talk about teacher as a galvanizer, that's a whole vastly different game plan for the teacher. And do teachers adjust to it? I'd say yes. Do they love it? Yes, they do, after they get to the hang of it. And how long does it take for them to get the hang of it? I think the couple of days of implementing ALfA, they start to see, I think, the first thing I got from a Lucknow teacher, as they started in Lucknow in a government school, she said, oh, today was the first time I could do my planner, required planner by the government. I could do it in my classroom. Thank you, right? She was so grateful. So they adjusted. Why? Because it makes their life easier. They get more results with less stress, less planning, less correction work, less rigor of their own. I mean, why would you work somebody so hard? It's humanly impossible. You pay them double, triple, whatever you like, but it is a human being. Hot summer, they're working in many schools, many countries. So we have to be more considerate of the teacher's job. And I think this is a new normal. For them also, that they can actually relax and look at kids in a different way. They can be more warm, can be more loving when they're not stressed out.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and for the children, it's a new normal as well. So they need to learn a new skill rather than raising their hands, going to ma'am, can you write good for me? Can you write excellent? Can you give me a smiley? Can you give me a star? All that dependence that we teach children on the teacher, all the dependence has to shed. So that's a new normal. New normal also in terms of like learning to work with each other. They don't know that. We've only mostly, I mean, sometimes, yes, we do group them, but we still don't teach them the rules of a group. It's pretty random. We said, okay, it's better to do a group than a whole class, but even better to do a pair. So you're teaching them this new rule or let's say new normalization of how to talk to each other, what courtesies and manners to use, to prefer the other before yourself. Say it's your turn, and may I ask you courtesies and characteristics of that interaction, and also the idea of working in pairs, giving turns to each other. This is not natural. We don't teach them. When we stand in a line, everybody wants to jump to the front of the queue, right? So what are we teaching them? These are not civic skills that they need to have. and we need to teach them those. So new normal.
So yeah, beautiful.
In many ways.
Yes, very much. A new normal. It takes on a whole different meaning. So I feel if you look at the fourth point, it's children are making questions for each other. Samvita, would you like to unpack that? We saw a lot of footage of it today. Why is it important for kids to make questions for each other, not just solve questions given in the textbook?
Okay. It's really important because there they understand the concept. They develop the analytical skills which we talk about. They are taking the onus of their work. They are the ones who are creating that work. They're building on the question which was given as a starter question by the teacher, and each one of them, and that is how it goes on.
Lovely. So it's a much more creative process in
Absolutely.
a sense, rather than just answering the questions given. So just answering 92 minus 19 from the textbook is one thing, but actually making my own question and sharing that with my partner, it's a much more engaging process.
Because in ALfA, to be a good teacher is not that how many questions the student is answering. It is how many questions a student is able to create right on his or her own self.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the fifth, the final point here of the key principles, using a language of encouragement rather than praise or reprimand. So we were just talking about this, but the key difference there, right, is praise is often helping just one child, or it's praising one child, whereas encouragement, we're looking at the whole class, right? Another key difference there is encouragement is more specific, so it's useful feedback, whereas praise may be just general, like good boy, smart girl, this sort of thing. And finally, it's something which is actually constructive, which leads to more effort rather than less. So looking at the process, looking at the effort rather than the result or the marks. So if you're just taking away 5 things from today, right, we're about to do a quiz and we want to hear from you what you're taking away. But if we had to choose only 5 points, then please, I think these are some of the key principles of ALfA, which you can implement in your classroom to see these tremendous results wherever you are.
I have a question. I would like to know from you, all of you attending from different places, would this massive open online training be a good modality for you in the future? Or do you think this won't work? Did you learn anything new here? Did you learn things that you can take away, that you can implement tomorrow? If you can, please write your comments on the modality of our teaching today and how effective that was. I personally believe that it would be not so easy to reach everyone. Of course, we agree on that, but that even a physical training has its limitations. For example, we can't always have the video to show you. We are not as prepared as we are here because we have to use a certain modality. Did we make it interactive enough for you? Did you find that you were able to get the benefits of being able to question and get immediate revert on those questions, the interactions that took place without having that physical setting? If yes, please write a yes. If no, write no. If you think somewhat, you can write somewhat, right? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
So we're seeing that some comments already coming in. Yes, ready to implement with underprivileged children. Fantastic. Hats off to you, Marcener. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, sorry, but that's fantastic. Great to see your enthusiasm. So yes, let's hear your feedback, right? Teaching is catering, the best example of this session. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. So we are trying, obviously, to practice what we preach. There's some limitations to the online modality. I acknowledge that, but there's definitely some advantages as well. And it's been terrific how active you've been in the chat. That's been the key to the success of this, right? It's not about us talking or us showing videos. It's about your interaction in the chat. It was nicely conducted. Okay, great. As far as online trainings go, okay, thanks. Yes, I've also experienced my share of boring online training, so I hope that we are doing better.
A lot of yes are coming in.
That's great. Many of you are saying yes. That's terrific. Fantastic. So it's thanks to you. It's thanks to your level of interaction.
So that means if you're saying yes, more of you are saying yes than maybes and no's. I would think that we can continue. This was a litmus test for me, for all of us. We have done for the first time the idea that we can train 10,000 teachers events or 100,000 teachers events, or it doesn't really matter the number of teachers. And I think that's powerful, because if we can do so, we can convert people to ALfA a lot quicker and therefore have more children benefit from it. As you know, it is all free. It is a gift, as Samvita ma'am said earlier in the day. It's a gift of Devi Sansthan to humanity, and we want you to embrace it. We want you to become champions of it. We want you to make it, such
that people can come to your classrooms and see what you're doing and find it a wonderful experience. And for the children, of course, that they're gaining tremendous confidence and knowledge with you and the 6 Cs. So if you can do it, great. Then we can continue with the massive open online training into the future.
Wonderful.
So please let your governments know we are here to serve, and we'd like to be of service to entire humanity.
Now, also, we've been talking just now about immediate feedback, and we've also been talking about specific feedback. So yes, your yeses are very encouraging. Now, if you can also be specific, that would be terrific, including any suggestions you have for how we could improve this format of online training. That's also very, very valuable to us. So in the chat box, you can just post your thoughts specifically. What was something new? What was something you learned today that you'll take away and that you'll implement in your classroom? And also something, any suggestion for improvement, anything that we can do better from our end. Another avenue for you to provide this feedback is this quiz. So I'm going to be posting this link now in the chat box. I'm going to post the link for this quiz, and you can feel free to go on it now. You can go on it later once our session wraps up in a couple of minutes. The quiz is also available via our website, Dignity Education, right? And the advantage of this quiz, it's a fun way to recap the session, right? To recap some of the things we've been discussing today, right? The quiz is there now, and it's also been pinned to the top. So please, you can go to that.
It's somewhat different from the previous quiz that you did. That was for literacy. This is more specific to numeracy. They're opinion questions. There are no marks for them.
Right. So the first part of the quiz, right, is some questions specific to the content we were discussing today about numeracy, especially in the ALfA process. And then the second part of the quiz is just some opinion poll surveys so that we can get some data on, how you found the training, whether you found this online modality to be effective or not. Now, one important point to mention there, if I can just progress to the next slide, please. One important point there to mention is please sign into this using your email, because we will be using your email. To send out the link to the e-learning materials. So many of you are expressing a lot of interest in the learning materials. That's fantastic, right? It's much more than the materials. It's the process that's key, but definitely the materials are also helpful. So if you can just move to the next slide, please, and have a look at, so please enter your email when you're signing in for the quiz. Please do enter your email because that's how we're going to be sending these materials to you. Everybody who does the quiz and scores above 50%, you'll be getting access to the materials. You'll also be getting a certificate like this. You'll be getting a certificate. Now, of course, the certificate is not the reward, but it's something for you to take away, something for you to remember today from. And we also really found today very engaging, especially thanks to all your interaction in the chat. So we really enjoy it. So the link is there in the chat box. You can go and do the quiz whenever you like. We're about to wrap up the session today. So once again, I'll just ask any questions from today's session. We've already had many questions, which is terrific. Any further final questions? And any one thing that you learned today that you're taking away that you're going to implement in your classroom. Yeah. Going to have a look, see what you guys are saying. Let me hand back to Sunita as well for any final remarks you'd like to make.
No, I just want to say that you've been awesome. I can't see you, but I can read your comments. I can read your sentiments. I can feel something. And I'm ever so grateful for the team that is here, that is also, beautiful and supporting of this process. We are doing an impossible task here, 3.5 hours, 3 times. That's 10.5 hours of presentations for the day. The last one ends at midnight for us here in India. I'm ever so grateful that people from across the world, all of you have joined us, and we can truly, truly, truly make this world so much better for our children. So, and in that, you are the most important piece and part of the puzzle. So please be our champions, your own champions, children's champions, and let's spread this word. The other thing I want to say is I'm grateful here that we have the presence of Joanne. And Joanne is from Literacy Chicago. She's come from Chicago. She arrived yesterday evening. And she's probably very jet lagged, but she's been sitting here with us, absorbing everything and giving us wonderful feedback and comments as well.
So we are grateful she's here. We are grateful to all the people who've been working till now, all day, and before and behind the scenes. Grateful to every one of them. And thank you, Tom. Thank you, Samvida. Thank you to the principals who are not here presenting, but who have done a lot of background work. Thank you, the coordinators, Ruchika, Smita, Sharmishta, and also the teachers of both campuses who have allowed us into their classrooms to take the videos of these amazing little actors and participants. They're not acting, they're just doing forever, but they're so cute and so awesome, and all the videos that they let us take of these children. Thank you so much indeed. And I guess I feel very much a sense of gratitude that I can be here with you all, and this feeling of wonder. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Tom.
So thank you so much. And before I hand back to ma'am to conclude, just want to thank you again for your comments that are coming in. I'm going to read out a couple of them. There's many of them. I can't read all of them. So the clap and snap activity is very effective for 1s and 10s. Thank you. Session was very interactive. Providing maths to the students instead of text is what I've learned. Okay, very good. So it's not just about written work, right? It's much more about concrete to abstract. It's given us different ideas about learning, teaching children, how children learn. Looking forward to many more sessions. This is very stimulating, right? You've done a good job. Now the quiz link is there. So please, once we finish, please go straight to the quiz, fill that in. We'll get your email from that and we'll be sharing the e-learning materials. We also really want you as an ALfA trainer, right? We can't do this ourselves all the time, right? We can do this in the online modality, but physical modality also has its benefits. So we definitely want you as an ALfA trainer as well. If you're interested in taking this further, in spreading the message of how paired learning works, how this known to unknown process goes, if you want to spread this corner to the furthest corners of India and around the world, please be in touch with us, right? We'd love to give you a bit more training, a bit more some more toolkits so that you can take this forward on your own as a trainer. And spread the message far and wide. So thank you.
Especially the youth. Tom is a youth volunteer. And look how amazing a master trainer he is. He's going to change the world, for sure. We need these youth. Like, I'm really grateful to All Africa Students Union, which is a students union. And it is present in 54 countries of Africa. We have Samuel from AASU, Africa. He's going to be presenting day after tomorrow in the Policymakers Forum. And you know, imagine these youth, instead of going earning their living some other way, why don't they go earn their living training people about ALfA? And the schools will gladly want to pay them. And I want to create that possibility that that people can create an income stream from this.
So if you're interested in, and that's kind of two concrete helps we will request from you. So one obviously is to implement ALfA in your own school, right? That's crucial. That's what it's all about. But then two things on top of that, if you want to really go the extra mile. One would be to become an ALfA trainer with us, right? To reach the furthest corners in physical presence as well, because online is not always possible. So physical presence is also wonderful. And the second point, which we mentioned in the literacy session this morning, is that the ALfA toolkits are already available in around 30 languages around the world. But there's still many more languages to go. We want this to reach every country, every nook and corner of the world. So go online, go to our website, see whether it's available in your mother tongue. If it is, download it, have a look, and offer us suggestions for how we can improve it further. If it's not yet available in your mother tongue, we need your help to get it out there, to replicate it in your language. The same process, the same structure of paired learning is there, but it can be in your own mother tongue. So that would be wonderful if you could help us out that way as well. So please do be in touch. We'll be there with you, and we're really excited to see the results as you implement this. You've seen some of the footage from our classrooms. You've seen some of the results. We're very excited to see now what the results will be when you start implementing it in your classroom. So I'm handing it back to Samvida ma'am to wrap it up.
Thank you, Tom. It's been a pleasure being with all of you today. Thank you for your patience, and your continued support can give us wings. And we would also like to thank Mr. R.K. Singh, and who's the head of Multimedia Department CMS, and his team. Can we turn around the camera on all of them? For their outstanding technical support with their special effects, backdrop, and graphical representations. Thank you very much. Thank you, each one of you. And now we would like to bid adieu with the closing song, My God Will Turn It Around.
I want to thank
Around. There are so many, many, many times in my life that I have seen my God turn it around.
Way down by battles in life. Are you thinking of quitting the race? There is no need to give up on your journey, because I know my God will turn it around.
Are you way down by battles in life? Are you thinking of quitting the race? There is no need to give up on your journey, because I know my God will turn it around.
I know
My God will turn it around.
I have
I have seen my God turn it around. There are so many, many, many times in my life that I have seen my God turn it around.
I know.
My God will turn it around.
I have seen
my God turn it around.
there are so many, many, many.
There are so many, many, many times in my life that I have seen my God turn it around.
Have you suffered from disappointment? Have some people turned their backs on you? Just keep holding on to the one who cannot disappoint. I know my God will turn it around.
Have you suffered from disappointments? Have some people turned their backs on you? Just keep holding on to the one who cannot disappoint. I know my God will turn it around.
Yeah.
My God will turn it around.
I have seen
my God turn it around.
there are so many.
Many, many times in my life that I have seen my God turn it around.
I know.
My God will turn it around.
I have seen
my God turn it around.
there are so many.
Many times in my life that I have seen my God
Turn it around. Are you thinking that you're all alone? Do you feel God has forsaken you? He has promised to keep you till the end of the journey. I know my God will turn it around.
Are you thinking that you're all alone? So you feel God has forsaken you? He has promised to keep you till the end of the journey. I have seen my God turn it around.
There are so many, 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 many times. I know. I have seen
my God turn it around.
there are so many, many, many.
Many times in my life that I have seen my God turn it around.
I know.
My God will turn it around.
I have seen
my God turn it around. There are so many, many, many times in my life that I have seen my God turn it around.
I know.
I have seen my God turn it around. There are so many, many, many times in my life that I have seen my God turn it around.